This program contains subject matter and language that may be disturbing to some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. This program contains subject matter and language that may be disturbing to some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, August 27th, and I am Jessica for Justice. I am very pale this morning. It's still dark outside, so my lighting can only do so much. So I am very pale. I very rarely go out in the sun. So, and I use a lot of sunscreen because I like my skin. Let me see if I can. That's a little better. Anyway, I hope everybody is having a great start to your week. I have been messing with some sounds and have been spending way too much time on Canva, so I have added some other stuff, some transitions in between the videos, and we are going to go ahead and get started. And I added the viewer discretion advised thing. I was watching a show on YouTube this morning, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to record that and make it fit the middle of the screen and change the color and see if I don't get dinged by copyright. Hopefully that part can't be copyrighted. But anyway. All right, let me find my playlist. So I need somebody later on Twitter or send me a message or something. Please remind me to replace the batteries in my wireless mouse because I keep forgetting to do it. And I'm using my laptop mouse right now. Yeah, so if y'all could help me out with that because I keep forgetting. I did just order some mushroom coffee, though, nootropics or whatever that's supposed to help with memory. So maybe that new mushroom coffee will help with my memory and I'll actually remember stuff. Good morning, Dizzy. Tash, I appreciate you sharing everything. Chinny, Carrie, good morning. I woke up at 3 o'clock this morning, so I figured I would just stay awake and stream. Tuesdays and Thursdays are when I'm trying to be consistent on streaming. So probably Tuesdays and Thursdays is when I will be on. Yeah, I went to bed at like 10 or something. Oh, before I get into the news stuff, I want to share a story with you guys. I I went to the dentist, and going to the dentist, it's also like going to the mechanic. You have to find one that you trust and isn't going to scam you and all that stuff. One time, like, I don't know, this was almost probably like 15 years ago when I lived in Miami Beach. I went to a dentist and he had this like piece of paper with pictures of teeth on it, and then he like put X marks on a bunch of my teeth, and he told me they were cavities, and I decided not to get them filled that day, and then I decided to get a second opinion because I had never been told something like that in my teeth before. So the next dentist I saw told me it was discoloration, that it wasn't cavities. And he actually showed me any cavities with like a microscope camera. Loved him. I was so sad when I left. I love my old dentist that I used to have, but I went to a new dentist and I went in for my first exam. So the first time I tried to make an appointment with them, you get transferred to a call center, and the call center made me an appointment at a completely different dentist that was 30 miles away. Had I not called to reschedule the appointment, I wouldn't have known that. So strike one. And then when I spoke to them, I gave them my insurance information. And then they call me the day before my dentist appointment telling me that my insurance the number isn't correct or something like that. So then I try all day to get through to them and I can't. Apparently they were closed like right after I called them. I called them back 10 minutes after. Uh, so I was a little annoyed with that. Then I finally got in touch with somebody and they got the right information, ran it through, and it was fine. So then I already had a bad feeling about this dentist. And the only reason I chose this dentist was because one of the dentists that I picked had good reviews. So I get there and then I hear the office girl telling this other person how they don't know what hours they're going to be open, that one of the dentists left, the hygienist left, these people have left. And I'm like, "Oh, that can't be good. I'm scared." So I decide I'm already here. I'm just going to keep the appointment. So they had told me that my copay would be $15. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So then, like, I go back, they do two different kinds of x rays, and I have never had to, like, open and bite so many times for x rays. Like, I think that that'll be a level of hell for some people is having to bite on this thing to get the x rays. And then they had this other fancier digital one. But then the dentist came in and he's like, "Hi, who are you and what are you here for today?" And I'm just like, that can't be good either. And he looked around for a second and then went to go see someone else. And then the hygienist came in and she's like poking my gums. And some of them she misses. Instead of like checking for pockets, she actually like stabs my gum. And then she's like, she leaves and she's asking somebody who's going to do her treatment, whatever. Um, so then the dentist came back and said, "You don't have any cavities. Uh, we're going to come up with a treatment plan." Okay. So, like, I'm bleeding because they stabbed me in the gum, but they never gave me anything to rinse my mouth out with or anything like that, which I thought was weird. So then they tell me I can go check out. So I go to check out, and the girl tells me it's actually $47 for my copay, which I was like, "Why? You told me it was 15." "Oh, because insurances only cover one type of x-ray. So you have to pay for the other one." Okay, well, you knew that and you didn't tell me. So why would you take two types of x-rays without asking me? So I wasn't real thrilled with that. So then this paper here, this this paper, the girl at the front desk gave me. And when I looked down, I saw $718, and I just laughed so hard that I scared the front desk girl. Because I told her, "You don't even need to explain it. I'm not, I'm not doing whatever it is because he told me my teeth are fine." Um, but the total is actually $2,598 is what they wanted to do because whatever they are doing isn't covered by my insurance somehow. And they're telling me that I need like this treatment for my gums and all this stuff. And yeah, so I'm going to go see another dentist. But I've also never had a dentist not be the one to explain this to me. Um, the girl at the front desk explaining something that's $2,600 doesn't really fly with me. So yeah, to uh, don't go to that dentist. I don't want to say their name, but I'll tweet about it. Yeah. So, and apparently they only have one dentist, and I'm gonna give them a review. I'm gonna give them a review on social or on Google because other people don't need to go to them. I was already mad about being charged for the x-rays and then they gave me that estimate. So I'm gonna go see another dentist. And I ordered a water pick just in case what they said was accurate and it just got here. Somehow Amazon keeps sneaking by my ring. All right, anyway, enough about my story. But yeah, that doesn't sound right, right? Like they should have given me something to rinse out with. The dentist or the hygienist should have went over the plan with me, right? No, my insurance covers the dentist. And my insurance covers the dentist, but for whatever this plan is that they gave me for what they wanted to do, my insurance doesn't cover it at all. I am going to call my insurance and I am going to complain about that dentist because, yeah, that was not a good time. And I get a lot of anxiety when I go to the dentist in general. I'm an anxious person. Um, so sometimes I need validation that something was actually wrong. And I knew that something was wrong in this case, but I don't know like the level of terrible it is. Um, but yeah, it was not a good experience. But my teeth, I have good teeth. I've always had good teeth and gums, and so for them to try to say I needed treatment that was $2,500 was wild. Uh, anyway, so we're gonna jump into some news. We're gonna get some updates with. First, we're gonna do an update in the Madeline Soto case. So just warning that this news clip may be tough for some people. It's 2 minutes and 25 seconds. Let me share my screen. I almost forgot that part. Madeline, but her mother should also go to prison, I think.
Evidence reveals more details about Madeline Soto. West 2's Bob Hazen has been going through the disturbing new evidence all morning and learned that investigators say Maddie's mother defended the man accused of killing her daughter.
In these documents, detectives say she didn't just defend Stephen Stearns, she also suggested the sexual abuse was, quote, not evil.
So she never made it.
That is Madeline's mom, Jennifer, talking with deputies, her boyfriend, Stephen Stearns, by her side. 13-year-old Maddie was missing, but investigators believe Stearns had actually murdered her after sexually abusing Maddie for years and recording it on his phone. New evidence released by the state attorney's office includes these pictures of a room in their home, room number 4, with a chain lock on the door. The night before Maddie vanished, Jennifer Soto told investigators she sent her daughter to that room to go to bed alone with Stearns.
I needed some sleep, so I asked, hey, can you guys go to the guest bedroom upstairs?
She never saw Maddie alive again, and during the search, she said nothing had seemed strange, but did offer this bit of information.
She did recently tell Stephen that she had a crush on a boy.
The evidence also includes details of Soto's interview with detectives after Stearns was arrested and on the day that Maddie's body was found. It says she defended Stearns, and while she denied knowing about ongoing sexual abuse, she, quote, even at one point referred to the sex stuff as not evil, but the murder of Madeline as evil. The detective says it appeared Soto had accepted that the victimization was happening. We also hear Stearns himself trying to explain why his phone's memory was wiped out before handing it over to investigators.
I don't know what the heck I did, but somehow during the massive OS update, I managed to factory reset my phone.
And they talked to Stearns' father, Chris, who said his son had a history of lying to them and his story didn't add up.
Before I left the house the other night, I turned to my wife and I said, do we really know Stephen? Can we honestly say we really know him?
Bob Hazen, West 2 News.
All right, while Jennifer Soto has been investigated, she has not been arrested or charged with any crime, and police have not identified her as a suspect.
I think that if you know that your child is being abused in that way, you also should be prosecuted. And it sounds like that she was just ignoring. A kid was too old to be sleeping with another adult. It's gross. And I hope that I hope she has the life she deserves. That's what I'm going to say. So, the next few stories are going to be safety tips, some scams. There's always a lot of scams that are going on. And there's some animals that are appearing on beaches in Texas. that are potential safety hazards. So warning warning y'all about some things to look out for, animals and people. Yeah, right. 5 minutes alone with the mom. And it's what's really disturbing is that it bothers me so much how much her daughter looks like her. Like that was your little mini me and you betrayed her. You completely betrayed that poor little girl. And yeah, she deserves more than 5 minutes, that's for sure. Oh, there goes my cat. My cat is screaming. She's upset that I'm upstairs, I guess.
Well, some beaches along the Texas coast are...
Hold on. I don't want the video to play until I can remove this from the screen. Thank you.
Well, some beaches along the Texas coast are seeing an unfamiliar sea creature that is washing ashore.
That's right. Our own reporter Blake Brown is on South Padre Island, who has more on the fireworm and why we should watch our step. Blake.
I'm here on South Padre Island. As you can see at the beach behind me, beachgoers are watching out for crabs, shells, and all things of the sort at their feet. They should also keep an eye out for the fireworm.
Trying to avoid some stuff like crusty, how do you say, shells?
And I look for shells, jellyfish, anything that's on the ground that I don't want to touch.
Beachgoers we spoke to today tell us they go above and beyond to stay safe on the beach. But a new sea creature is starting to make appearances along our South Texas shores. Spotted south of Corpus Christi yesterday, the bearded fireworm can grow up to under a foot in length and packs a mean sting to back up their name. Marine biologist Tony Reisinger has seen them on South Padre once before. He says their cactus-like spines are there for a reason.
What happens is if you touch one, it's like touching a cactus spine. It sticks in you, and for the smaller spines on cactus, it stays in your skin. So if you do touch one, and it's very painful too. If you do touch one, you can use tape to remove it, or you can use vinegar to dissolve it. It takes a little longer for the vinegar to dissolve it.
Some beachgoers know about the fireworm and are actively keeping an eye out.
Yes, I have. I thought I saw one, but it looked like a stick, so I don't know.
If you're at the beach and suspect you've seen a fireworm, report it to your local Parks and Wildlife. Working for you from South Padre.
That was the best bunch of people for that news segment. Good morning, Amanda. So the next video is a scam that has been happening to a lot of Chase people that use Chase. This is something to just be aware of when you're using ATMs. I would assume that this can't only be an issue with Chase. This is just what people are aware of. I will say I'm very disappointed with how Chase handled this before the news got involved, and I bank with Chase, so it wasn't very comforting to find out how they handled that. But yeah, if you see that weird branch spiky thing on the beach, don't touch it. It doesn't sound fun. I don't touch random sea creatures because that's a lie. I used to when I was a kid, like the jellyfish that, are just like a circle. Those, but they never stung me. But don't do that. Don't touch animals that you don't know what they are. Just don't do it.
A 7 on Your Side story about a new type of ATM fraud has exploded on the internet. Scammers using glue and the ATM tap feature have been draining bank accounts.
Yeah, now more victims have come forward saying it happened to them as well. I know I've been telling people about it, Michael. This story's really struck a nerve.
Everywhere I go, people are talking about this. It's amazing. And look, this scam has so many moving parts. It starts with thieves pouring glue into the card reader. That forces consumers to use a tap function, setting up a domino effect.
that guy scammed me last night at the ATM machine.
Pamela Bongiorno showed us how thieves got her money at this ATM.
I inserted my card. It didn't work.
A man in line told her she could tap her card instead, and it worked. She got her cash, walked off, but the next day, a shock.
Why is my account almost $1,000 less?
She found 3 more withdrawals on her account, $940 gone.
I'm like, that happened to me.
Stephanie Berry was amazed to see our story about Pamela and Rob Bell.
I didn't think anything of it. I thought he was just using the ATM.
And Justin Sindelar.
My initial reaction was, wait a second. I definitely did not withdraw that much money.
All used the tap feature at this ATM. All found their accounts drained after they left.
I was so mad. I was like, that happened to me. I knew I should have called 7 on your side when it happened.
Stephanie says she tapped her phone at that ATM to withdraw $20, then hurried off because a man was lurking nearby.
But I didn't know if he was being a creep or what he was doing.
Seconds later, a fraud alert on her phone. Did she just withdraw $600? She replied no, but a little too late. $400 was already gone.
And he said, it'll work. I just got money from there. You have to tap it.
The card reader didn't work when Gary Lee used that ATM. Then a man nearby insisted on helping.
He grabbed my card. Somebody behind me said, it'll work.
The stranger tapped Gary's card for him. Gary got his cash, walked off. The next day, all but $5 was gone.
They put glue in the card reader of the ATM machines.
The bank manager told Pamela that scammers pour glue into the slot so victims have to tap. By tapping, the transaction window stays open even after the cash comes out. So, if a customer walks off without closing the window, a thief can simply step up and make more withdrawals. Chase said customers should wait for this screen. Do you want to do something else? Click no to close out the session.
I think I closed it, but you know what? Maybe I left it open.
Bank managers told victims the scam has been ongoing since last fall. Yet, Chase rejected all of their claims, saying they authorized the transactions.
Why would I make 4 transactions in one day?
The investigator from Chase just made me feel so icky. Oh, how do we know you didn't steal it? Why would I steal my own money?
I just felt real betrayed.
You know, I'm not going to take no for an answer.
Pamela filed her claim 4 times before Chase replaced her money. But after our inquiries, the bank did refund all of the victims in this report, telling us we have credited our customers in full and are taking additional steps to protect patrons. The tap feature does require entering a PIN for each transaction, but thieves have clearly found a way to capture the PINs. Chase said cover the keypad when you enter your PIN, look for signs of any tiny cameras, and don't talk to anyone in line. If anybody's coming up to you at an ATM, they know they're not supposed to do that. Be very, very careful.
Maybe in the Bay Area, but everybody talks to everybody in Texas. This is Bay Area news, so I could definitely see people talking to people in line at an ATM. I don't use outside ATMs. I don't use drive-through ATMs. I only go into the bank and use the ATM. I'm too paranoid to use the normal ATM anymore, especially with how popular jugging and stuff has been. One time I had to go cash a check at one bank and then take the cash to my bank, and like as soon as the clerk gave me the cash, I said, "Don't judge me," and I stuffed it in my bra. I was like, I'm not walking out of here with that. Yeah, I'm pretty paranoid when it comes to that. But if you do use the tap feature, make sure that the transactions are finished. Make sure you exit out, it's closed, and that you have signed off. I always wait until it goes through all the steps, sends me the receipt or whatever, and I don't care if somebody's behind me because I'm inside the bank during normal business hours. So another story coming out of the Los Angeles area, and this issue is happening all over the country, where it's fake check scams, but small businesses are getting orders and they are turning out to be fake orders. So it's impacting these smaller mom and pop places. So don't be surprised if you're trying to get cupcakes or something and they need a deposit because there are these scams that are going around.
Scammers have been targeting local businesses using a sophisticated counterfeit check scheme.
One local bakery fell victim, taking an order for over 1,000 cupcakes before realizing their funds had been withdrawn. And Eyewitness News reporter Annabelle Munoz has more on how the scam was discovered.
Baker Loria Stern has a unique specialty. She incorporates edible flowers into her baked goods.
These are pea sprouts and these are sun daisies.
Last week, she got an unusual online order for about 1,000 cupcakes.
We are not known for cupcakes. We're known for flour cookies and special occasion cakes.
Stern says the person sent a check for just over $7,500 by priority mail. She stopped by her bank for advice and says she was told that if the funds went through, it was a good check. And they did.
So Stern bought all of these ingredients and started making these cupcakes.
But then the person who placed the order said they wanted to cut it in half and get half of the money back.
I responded and said, no, there's no way we can do that. We've already bought all the ingredients. We've already made the batter.
Stern says she was again reassured by a bank representative.
My bank said, you'll be protected here, especially if you have an invoice and all the emails going back and forth.
But the next day, the funds were withdrawn from her account.
And they said, oh, it's been cited as a counterfeit check. Essentially, what the scammer did is they stole another company's checkbook.
Stern says she contacted the company listed on the check and was told she was the 15th person that day calling about the same scam. All bakeries and landscaping companies.
Started the work, bought all the materials, and then asked by this person to get a refund sent to them.
She's been able to sell some of the cupcakes her bakery made, but still has a lot of leftover ingredients and says it was a hard hit financially and emotionally.
It really made me, feel disheartened about humanity.
She hopes sharing her experience can help other small business owners.
I wanted other business owners and maybe just people in general to be wary of scams that could happen, because they can be really disruptive.
Annabelle Munoz, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Hello, I'm Mark Brown. Get more great ABC 7 content by clicking the subscribe button for our YouTube channel.
No.
And download.
Nope, that's a really long outro. So another warning, many of you may be aware of whippets and nitrous and maybe have done whippets. I know that for as long as I could remember, you could buy the little chargers that are like this big and, put them in a whipped cream container and people will inhale that. Now companies are making these, I don't even know what to call them, nitrous things that are like this big. They're huge. Galaxy Gas is one of them. There's a few different companies, and it comes with an attachment that you can just inhale it right out of that container. You don't even need the whipped cream charger. And whipped cream chargers run, I don't know, it's been a long time since I've had one. I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since I tried to make whipped cream. When I bought them, they were, I don't know, $30 for the plastic one and almost $100 for the metal one. And people would have to go to restaurant supply stores or smoke shops to get them. But now gas stations are selling the other ones. So if you have kids, this is definitely something to be aware of, because it's a lot easier for them to hide what they're doing, and you can have serious consequences from doing whippets and continuously doing them.
Happy early birthday. Thank you.
Letitia Holder, turning 32, never expected to be celebrating her birthday in the hospital. Nonetheless,
I'm lucky to be here.
Last month, after doing whippets,
I remember waking up and getting out the bed, and I just ended up collapsing, and I couldn't feel my body. I was numb. I couldn't walk at all. I couldn't even move my legs. My hands were like stuck in certain places. It was very terrifying. I thought I was dying inside and out. It felt like it.
When a person consumes nitrous oxide, of course, it's a neurotoxic, which means that it can affect the nerves.
Letitia is now undergoing extensive physical therapy at Sinai Grace Hospital and sharing her story to warn others.
I didn't know because it was actually put in balloons first, and that's how I started off doing them. And then they put them in a can, and I just kept on doing them. And I never stopped for 3 years.
Letitia and her friend Barbara vowing to never use nitrous oxide again.
It took me to go through this to realize, and I don't like that. It's not good. And I just want to embrace to other people in the world that they need to stop doing them, and it's not for a human's body.
They're addictive. They're very addictive. So we would just do them daily.
All day?
Yes, all day. Keep buying them.
Where would you get them?
From the gas station.
It is now illegal in Michigan to sell nitrous oxide for recreational purposes.
When you go to sit down, reach back and find the armrest. Good.
Okay. That's great.
Letitia is making progress. Doctors say she's lucky.
If the treatment is not initiated in time, the paralysis can be, irreversible.
In Detroit, Camila Mary, Fox 2 News.
Yeah, so Duster is also abused, but Duster is more like huffing. It's like whippets are dangerous, but Duster is much more dangerous. Nitrous oxide, if you are breathing normal, your body expels it pretty quickly. That's why when you go to the dentist, they have to put it, in your nose and to be breathing consistently. When I have to get a filling or something, I have to get that because I think too much about my tongue, and then my tongue moves all around. I'm not gonna play this next video all the way through because it's too long, but this one explains a little bit more about the epidemic of what's going on. I can't believe that these things were able to be made, at all.
You may have heard of whippets, a drug abused sometimes using balloons and whipped cream containers. But now some people say the gas is far easier to get, and one doctor believes that access could be causing a crisis.
As Rob Krieger reports, a local father says the gas put his daughter in the hospital, and he believes some companies could be using loopholes while supplying a high.
Bright colors, bubbly logos, packing a punch.
It hits like crack cocaine hits.
Boasting video game designs with on-demand gratification.
It's instant, it's right there, and it's gone.
With candy-like flavors.
You continuously want that high.
Blueberry mango.
You snap back really, really quick.
Vanilla cupcake, watermelon lemonade.
You just want another one.
Within reach.
You can go get them right down the street.
On shelves at corner stores and smoke shops.
You're spending all your money.
Sometimes offered with a complimentary mouthpiece.
You don't even have to have cash. You can use a credit card.
Users say it brings up a brief but fleeting euphoria.
Just wasting it away, and it's just gone as fast as you can spend it.
In a breath, it's over.
Most people know it as laughing gas.
Chemically known as nitrous oxide, health educator Dr. Eric Griggs says medical professionals have used the gas safely in clinical settings for more than 250 years.
Well, the unfortunate thing is, for the exact number of centuries that it's been used, it's also been abused.
Greg Combo sees that firsthand.
This stuff has taken over my daughter and everything that she ever knew.
He believes his daughter started abusing nitrous oxide when she was 18 years old.
She only did a little bit at a time, maybe parties and stuff like that, and it grew to be a very big problem, a genuine addiction.
It's because people get a euphoric high. That's why they do it. It may work on opiate receptors the way that ketamine does.
Dr. Amir Garakhani, an associate professor in the Department of Psychiatry at Yale University, says frequent nitrous oxide users risk potentially fatal or life-altering consequences.
There have been many, many cases in emergency rooms and hospitals of people presenting with nerve damage, with blood diseases, with psychosis, mania, other psychiatric presentations.
Dr. Griggs says inhaling nitrous can deplete the body of B12.
There can be all kind of nervous damage, cerebral damage, cardiovascular implications, long-term implications.
People look like they've had spinal cord injuries. It can start as simple as something called neuropathy in their like tingling sensations in their extremities, their arms and legs, and to having problems with muscle pains and nerve pains in their legs, and difficulty walking, to the point where people sometimes become bedbound.
Symptoms Campbell says he's seen right in his front yard when a friend of his daughter's hopped out of his truck with a nitrous tank in hand and crashed headfirst into his family's mailbox. A nightmare he's watching his daughter live through right now.
She is so addicted to this stuff that she just totally avoids her family and all of her friends now. It's ridiculous. When we do see her, she's shaking. She can't even eat a piece of pizza without it almost falling out of her mouth. She's doing really bad. She's been in rehab 3 times.
In just 3 weeks after his daughter moved out, Campbell says he removed a horde of empty tanks from her new apartment, each one a tally of the toll on his daughter's life.
We calculated, this is $1,800 worth of product right here in a 3-week time that she's moved out and been living in an apartment with a roommate.
You could easily spend, a couple $1,000. Yeah, a month. Yeah, easily.
This man, who's currently battling an addiction to nitrous, agreed to speak candidly with us about the gas anonymously.
Some days I can spend $300 on it. I know users that'll spend $1,000 in a day.
He says he's used nitrous oxide recreationally for more than a decade, but he says it's only recently that his abuse of the gas became a problem when nitrous tanks like these showed up in New Orleans neighborhood shops.
So I found out about these, it was kind of easy access, grab a couple of them, and then it just became more of a thing and a pretty constant thing.
Dr. Garicani believes increased access to nitrous oxide, like these larger format cylinders, could contribute to more frequent use.
The biggest impediment to people using in the old days was that access to cartridges and how expensive it was. But if people have access to tanks now,
you don't feel like you're doing something wrong. You're buying it at the store. So you don't have that kind of shame if you're buying other drugs.
Once addicted to crack cocaine, he says because you can buy this vice over the counter, his addiction to nitrous is far worse.
Because not anyone can just walk into a crack house at any time. It's rough. It's a hard drug, even though it's not supposed to be.
However, nitrous oxide is considered harmful enough that in clinical settings, the regulations to administer it start long before the mask goes on. Yeah, so very, very dangerous. It's easy to access. There's gas stations that are selling it now. There's the big tanks are in smoke shops. It's terrifying that they're so easy to access because, like they said, it used to be so much more expensive before. They can get a big tank for $40. It's crazy. So in Detroit, a car dealership got broken into and they were trying to steal these Dodge Durangos, but they weren't able to. And I love when thieves don't get what they want. Oh my gosh. Come on. I need to pause. Rewind. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And Duster is very dangerous but I think the nitrous oxide is going to be it's going to be much worse because it's so easy to access. And I have been seeing on social media lots of young kids and rappers and all that stuff walking around with these big things of the nitrous oxide.
Skyfox over the scene of some now ruined Dodge Durangos that lost to a massively strong security gate at Ground Effects Automotive near 696 and DeQuinder in Warren. This after police say several accused thieves tried to steal the pricey SUVs in a 6 a.m. caper with failing results.
And they came in, they clearly had a plan, they knew what they were going for.
Warren police say of the 6 Durangos they went after, 5 are of the SRT model, which can list for more than $100,000 a piece. It all began with a caller phoning 911, alerting first responders to the suspicious group hanging out in the rear parking lot where several Stellantis cars were parked.
They brought gasoline along because the cars kept on the lot don't have a lot of gas in them, so they came prepared in the event that they had to drive for a while, so they brought extra gas. Definitely an organized plan.
Detectives are looking at security camera video that allegedly shows the crew hopping the fence, jumping into the SUVs, and trying to drive off.
The first car attempts to ram his way through the gate. He's unsuccessful. A second car tries to ram his way through the gate. Pretty impressive construction, but they weren't able to get through.
After trying to make a run for it, cops say they caught up with the thieves on the ground, arresting 5 of the 6, with teams closing in on that last outstanding suspect. Of those captured so far, 2 are 16 years old, 2 are 17, and 1 is 24. All of them are from Detroit. Warren police say dealerships with pricey rides like these might want to take a cue from this incident, with the damage estimated to be around $500,000.
Whatever gate they're using at Ground Concepts there would be a good one to consider using.
Now you might be thinking, was this driven by some sort of social media challenge like the Kia challenge? No, police say that's not the case. This was simply a group of criminals that had a targeted plan, and it was simply foiled. Again, they're looking for one more suspect, and the prosecutor's office is looking at the case, standard procedure, of course, to consider charges and all of this. We'll keep you updated on that search for that last.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Were the keys in them? Do they not have anti-theft? I mean, I guess you can steal anything if you know how, right? Gone in 60 Seconds taught us that. Apparently those laser-coded keys, well, we don't even have those anymore. They're all push start. So, yeah, I have lots of questions. I don't know enough about cars to really have an opinion on that, but I'm guessing they break the console and wire it. I have no idea. Definitely curious to know. So 2 murder-suicide stories this morning, both very, very sad. One of them was just reported last night. There was a Rice University junior that was shot and killed in her dorm room by a man, and then the man took his life and left a note about their relationship. And then there's a murder-suicide in New York with 5 people dead. So I'm going to let these 2 stories play back to back. Really? We're going to do this again?
We begin with that breaking news. 5 people dead inside a Nassau County home, including a man who police say shot.
YouTube needs to get it together because it doesn't let me watch videos with the word suicide in it, I guess. Okay. I wish to proceed. What? Hold on. I'm going to play the New York story while I try to find the other video. I hate YouTube. Like, it's stupid. I'm an adult and I'm signed into my account and I want to watch it. Alright, so this is the one out of New York where unfortunately there was 5 people murdered.
We begin with that breaking news. 5 people dead inside a Nassau County home, including a man who police say shot and killed himself outside the house. A source tells CBS News New York the shooting was a murder-suicide. Derek Waller is live in Syosset with the latest details. Derek?
Jessica, an incredibly disturbing situation here in Syosset. Right now, we're standing here on Arizona Avenue. Behind me is Wyoming Court, and you can see this entire cul-de-sac is taped off right now. And in the distance there, you can see the homicide squad truck there with detectives here on the scene. Sources say this was a murder-suicide. A man shot and killed 4 of his family members before turning the gun on himself. Now, Nassau County Police got the call around noon today for a report of shots fired, but when officers got here, they found a gruesome scene, a man dead in the yard from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Later, they found 4 other victims inside the house, police say, who are believed to be siblings. Neighbors tell us the man who pulled the trigger has lived here his entire life, has mental health issues, and also has occasional outbursts. Now, adding to the tragedy, the gunman's 95-year-old mother just passed away a few days ago, and neighbors say they were all here trying to figure out what to do with the house. Listen to what one neighbor told us moments ago.
He just snapped, I think, because his parents were, his mom left the house, and the 4 siblings, he's one of 4 siblings, they were going to sell the house, and he's lived there his whole life, and he really needed support, emotional support. And I think he snapped.
And right now, police are not revealing a motive. As you can see behind me, detectives are actively working this case as we speak. And they also say that this shooting was isolated to this house. And so they want to stress that there is no immediate danger, no danger at all to the wider community.
That's horrible and very, very sad. But, I mean, we don't know if that's the actual reason. I would assume that some sort of mental health issue went into play. And then, so I was able to find the other video. So there was a murder-suicide also that happened in Texas, in the Harris County area. It was a college junior, and she was murdered by somebody that she was in a relationship with. And, well, I don't know if they were actually in a relationship. They had some sort of relationship. And he left a note. He killed her, then took his life, and then left a note. I feel like we have an epidemic of this happening all over the country. Am I sharing the screen? Okay.
Death in the dorms. A Rice University student found shot to death on campus in what police are calling a murder-suicide. Thank you for joining us at 10. I'm Keith Garvin.
Good evening. I'm Daniela Guzman. KPRTG's Bryce Newberry is live at Rice right now with what the investigation is revealing tonight. Bryce?
Daniela and Keith, about a 90-minute lockdown ended the first day of classes for the fall semester here at Rice University. Tonight, that has been lifted, but 2 people are dead who police say were going through trouble in their relationship. The victim has been identified as Andrea Rodriguez Avila. University leaders tell us that she is a junior from Maryland, found dead in her dorm room during a welfare check prompted by a call from family members. They had not heard from her, and police say she didn't go to a class today. Investigators also found a man who's not a student, believed to be from Florida, with a self-inflicted gunshot wound in her dorm room. This murder-suicide happened in Jones College, one of nearly a dozen residential colleges here on campus. The school asked everyone to shelter in place for about an hour and 20 minutes during this investigation. Tonight, police say they found a note believed to be written by the shooter that described the troubles this couple was having. And in the last hour and a half or so, Rice University's president addressed this tragedy in a news conference we streamed at click2houston.com.
Tonight, I want all of our students, our parents, and the entire Rice community to know that the Rice campus is safe and there is no immediate threat. And tonight, we will wrap our arms around our students. As a parent of a past Rice student, I can only imagine how devastating this must be. We are communicating with Andrea's parents and are flying them out early tomorrow morning. We ask the community to keep us in your prayers as we comfort each other this evening.
And police say there were not any signs of forced entry. They believe that Avila gave the shooter access to her dorm room as a visitor. Tonight, the university has activated a call center for anyone who's needing support. The classes here are also canceled for tomorrow.
Yeah, another very sad story. I don't know. I feel like it's like every week that there's a murder-suicide. We're definitely in a mental health crisis because those are not normal reactions to things at all. So new technology is out to help combat shoplifting. Shoplifting has been a huge issue all over the country, and there is technology out there that's supposed to help it. So this is a preview to what that technology looks like. Oh, hold on. I need to go back. I accidentally made it full screen and can't see it. I really should use my other display. That would make it easier. Here we go.
Retailers, as you can imagine, are losing lots of money to shoplifting, and it hits small businesses especially hard. But there's a new AI technology to help small businesses catch a thief.
And it will benefit you as well. One Canoga Park store gave the I-Team a look inside, a sneak peek, if you will. Here's our investigative reporter, Carolyn Johnson.
The videos caught by store security cameras are alarming. Smash and grabs occurring across the country. According to industry analysts, the retail sector lost $112 billion to theft in 2022. That's up roughly from $94 billion just the year before. Small businesses are feeling the impact too.
Lately, it has increased tremendously.
This worker at a discount grocery store in Canoga Park says shoplifters swipe about $40,000 in goods from his store every year.
You know, that money is money that could have been used for improvements in the store or, you know, hire an associate.
The store has security cameras, but the staff says those haven't helped much. And other theft measures aren't doable. Locking up smaller, pricey items deters sales. And extra security is out of the question.
Because hiring a security guard is really expensive.
But the store has cut its theft losses thanks to a new AI technology called Vision. It uses the store's security cameras to detect suspicious movements by shoppers, like slipping an item in a jacket, a pocket, or a bag. The staff then gets an alert on their phones when that happens.
This is a previous test that we made, so you can see him putting stuff in his pocket. See?
We checked it out in real time. Our producer put a pricey face cream in her bag, and within seconds, one of the workers gets an alert.
There she is. We see her putting the stuff in the pocket.
The next step is a little trickier, approaching the thief. Workers told us they like to be non-confrontational and simply ask the shopper to pay for the item, and they often do. But sometimes the shopper just bolts.
Some people just drop the thing and run away, and there's a lot of different reactions.
Benoit Quinnig is one of the co-founders of the AI technology. The idea came to him in engineering school after hearing his own family's struggles with shoplifting at their family-run stores in Paris. He says shoplifting impacts both the store owner and the honest customer.
It's not only about the immediate loss of goods, it has also a lot of indirect consequences, like out of stocks, the fact that it drives prices up for all other consumers because you have to make up for shoplifting.
Quinnig says he was surprised to learn that the common thief is often the friendly, faithful customer.
Our customers were really surprised to see that some of their loyal clients saying hi, smiling at everybody was actually shoplifting. And so someone coming 3 or 4 times a week, stealing maybe $20 each time, you're facing a silent drain of more than $4,000 a year for one single person.
Quinnig says his clients are seeing good results. Shoplifting loss is down 30 to 60%. The Canoga Park store says the technology has cut its shoplifting loss in half. And they recommend the technology to other small businesses.
They should use it. They should use it because this has been a game changer.
For the I-Team, I'm Carolyn Johnson.
The 11-year-old boy charged in connection with the death of 8-year-old.
I wasn't ready for that. Yeah, the technology is great. It's not going to help people that are driving in the stores with their cars like they showed at the beginning. I also would not want to confront shoplifters. People are insane. People are very violent now. I would not want to be a security guard or loss prevention or anything like that in this day and age. No way. There's no way. But they're right. It's driving up the cost of everything. But I wonder how much money was lost last year, because they only had the numbers for 2021 and 2022. I hope the software helps, but I mean, you can only do so much. I think we need worse consequences for people that are stealing, and especially those that are part of criminal enterprise. It's a bit different if somebody who can't afford baby formula is stealing baby formula, but sometimes there's people that steal all the baby formula and then go online and sell it. If you look on Facebook Marketplace, there's already always somebody selling like a bunch of herbal essence or a bunch of lotion or a bunch of Tide. Do you really think that they got that through legal means? No. So don't buy that stuff. I wouldn't trust it either. I wouldn't trust stuff buying from some stranger on the internet. How do I know it's what's in there? Moving on, an 11-year-old has been sentenced in the death of an 8-year-old. That's so sad. And I feel like we're seeing more and more of things like this, violent crime. It's happening between children. A lot of those committing thefts and robberies and stuff like that are under the age of 18. And an 11-year-old taking someone's life is almost unfathomable.
The 11-year-old boy charged in connection with the death of 8-year-old Noah Bush has been sentenced.
Today was probably one of the hardest days of my life. This isn't just this.
Noah disappeared May 15th in Jessup, Georgia. He was found dead the next day in a construction pit full of water. The Wayne County Sheriff's Office initially ruled his death accidental, and that sparked weeks of protests in the community.
And nearly 2 months after his death, a 10-year-old and an 11-year-old were charged. A hearing was held today for that 11-year-old.
Riley Phillips has more now from the hearing and reaction from Noah's family.
It was an emotional day. Noah's family and their lawyers were visibly upset leaving the courtroom. The 11-year-old was sentenced to 2 years in a juvenile detention facility, but Noah's mother says there is still no closure in this case.
When will you stand up?
Tensions flared outside the courtroom Thursday. Protesters yelling justice for Noah. Noah, At one point, Wayne County Sheriff's deputies came outside to tell the group to move across the street. That's when a deputy and a protester got in each other's faces. But the mood shifted when the hearing ended.
We're here with Demetrius Bush.
Tears of sadness fell as the family of Noah Bush and their lawyers described what happened inside the courtroom.
This 11-year-old admitted under oath that he, in fact, led Noah Bush down to the clay pits, pushed him into the water, and ultimately held his head under that water until he drowned.
The 11-year-old faced 4 charges in connection to Noah's death, including concealing the death of another and involuntary manslaughter. The 11-year-old will now spend 2 years in a juvenile detention facility, along with the 10-year-old also charged in this case. Noah's mother, Demetrius Bush, also spoke in court today, reading a victim impact statement.
My baby was 8 years old with a full life ahead of him. And 2 years is what the state of Georgia calls justice for an entire life that's lost.
But the family does not feel any relief. Their fight now turns to the adults in this case. They believe adults related to the juveniles helped cover up Noah's death, and they say they won't stop calling for their arrests.
There is no peace, there is no comfort, there is no closure for me. I will live with this for the rest of my life.
And there is still no update on whether the sheriff's office plans to make any more arrests in connection to this case. The sheriff would not answer any questions today or provide a statement. In Jessup, Riley Phillips, First Coast News, on your side.
Nah, that's terrifying. it wasn't an accident. It wasn't, like a weapon went off or they were playing with a gun or something like that. He intentionally held that kid's head down. That sounds like a psychopath. Like, that's just so horrible and horrific for an 11-year-old to do. Because, like, that other kid had to, like, he had to witness that kid fighting for his life and not stop. No. That kid needs... Yeah. I hope that kid's going to be monitored. Maybe I think too much, that I think that he should be in a program, at least until he's 18. 2 years is ridiculous. That kid needs some serious mental health evaluation, because otherwise he's going to be back on the street and take someone else. Let's see. Good morning, Dana. Lenient laws need to change. They allow $900 to be taken. Wow. Without penalty. That's crazy. That's insane. But yeah, so this child, I definitely don't agree with 2 years. That's no. He needs to be in a facility and monitored, I think, probably for the rest of his life. Yeah. So moving on to the Boston area, the police are looking for a man that is connected to the murder of a mother and daughter.
Well, Sean, Jen, I spoke with the granddaughter and niece of those two women, and she tells me to know them was to love them, saying tonight her family is mourning a deep, deep loss. Ana Maria Martinez on the left and her mother, Sergia Acosta, were found stabbed to death in Sergia's apartment yesterday. Their family says Ana was taking care of her mother, but when they couldn't get in touch with either woman, panic set in. Family went to the apartment, finding the bodies of both inside. Now, Worcester police are looking for this man, 59-year-old William Rodriguez, who they say is a person of interest. The family of the two women calling for justice.
Both amazing women. Everyone loved them. Please, we just want justice. Again, if you know something, please say something. That way it doesn't happen to anyone else.
Now, the women's family says the two were cared about by everyone, that they loved everyone deeply. And when I spoke with the family, they tell me William Rodriguez, the man police are searching for, did know both women. Tonight, they're asking anyone with information to call police.
I'm going to buy a compound. I'm just going to buy an island and live there. Who wants to come with me? Because everybody's lost their damn minds. And it's like the first thing that people do is violence. They can't figure anything out, can't just fight somebody, can't have an argument, can't be disrespected. Like, people have lost their damn minds. I swear, if I win the lottery, I'm buying a compound. And, like, I will have a moat. And then in my moat, I will have saltwater crocodiles, because they're the most aggressive. And then I will have lions. I don't know if I would really do all that. But, like, I'm so tired of this. It's so crazy. Well, in some good news, the Utah Parole Board did not release a repeat sex offender after the victim gave testimony. So that's some good news, and thank God that they actually listened to the victim for once.
A repeat sex offender has learned that he will not be getting out of prison next year as originally expected. Utah's Board of Pardons and Parole rescinded his parole after reporting from the KSL investigators. Danielle Rivera has been following this case extensively. And what led up to the parole board's reversal here through your failure to protect series here? This is big news.
This case has been quite the ordeal. So last November, Byron Thad Hatterley was sentenced to serve up to 15 years in a case where his ex-wife, Cammie Johnson, reported that he drugged and sexually assaulted her. But just 3 short months after that sentencing, she learned the parole board had decided to grant his release. And they made that decision without hearing from his multiple victims. That changed this week.
For years, Cammie Johnson has been navigating a system she never asked to be part of.
You can't even describe how emotionally and physically and mentally exhausting it is.
Being a survivor in Utah's criminal justice system.
It's awful to have to go tell your story again and again and again.
Even so, in March, Cammie was grateful for the opportunity to speak to Utah's parole board. Her family and friends packed the room for a special victim impact hearing. The board had previously granted Byron Thad Hatterley's release, set for February 2025, but that decision was made without the voices of his victims. A letter notifying Cammie of that original hearing was returned to sender. At another parole hearing this week, Cammie spoke again, and Hatterley asked to be released again.
I just would like an opportunity to move forward and try to do something outside of being incarcerated, sir.
In a newly released decision, there's no parole date. Instead, the board ordered Hatterley to return for another hearing in 3 years. The board's reasoning includes that Hatterley's crimes are characterized by extreme cruelty or depravity, and he caused substantial physical or psychological injuries to multiple victims.
What a difference it makes to attend those hearings and to be able to have your voice heard.
After months of uncertainty, there's relief.
Honestly, 3 years is my whole life. 3 years is we can sleep at night. That is 3 years that we know that we're not going to be stopped. That is 3 years of freedom.
Now, we've reported that the Board of Pardons and Parole is working on a new victim notification system. I'm told this evening they're making progress with that effort, and they expect to go live with the first phase of that project this fall. And the board is also in the final phase of hiring a new director of public outreach and transparency. Now, if there's something you want our team to investigate, call or text the number there on your screen.
Yeah, I can't believe they wanted to set a parole date 3 months after he was sentenced. Victims shouldn't have to fight that hard for somebody like that to stay in prison. Thank God they did, but they shouldn't have had to have done that. She shouldn't have had to have gone public and show her face and all that, but she did, and thank God she did, because now he is going to be in prison. And had she not done that, then who knows, he would be out again. And he already has multiple victims. Who's to say that he's not going to do it again? And the same thing happens in homicide cases. They get brought up for parole every 3 to 5 years, and then the families have to go and testify and go through all that again. And I just wish that the sentences are actually the sentences, and you don't have to do prison math to figure out when they're going to get out and when they're going to get paroled. Yeah, and I agree, Chinny. The victim shouldn't have to come back, be re-victimized. They should just serve the whole sentence. Good morning, Jamie. It's absolutely ridiculous. I'm not sure if you guys heard that there was an attack in Germany at a German festival. A few people were stabbed there.
A 26-year-old man has surrendered to police in Germany, claiming responsibility for a deadly stabbing spree at a festival on Friday night. The attack left 3 people dead, several others critically wounded in the western city of Zollingen. Police say the suspect is from Syria and had applied for asylum in Germany. ISIS has claimed responsibility, though, without providing evidence.
Hey, thanks for watching.
Of course they did. Yeah, they may not have guns, but they still have issues. Stabbing seems to be a something that they like to do in other countries because that's their options. There's a sculpture, and I think it's in the UK. I could be wrong, where they made a big, huge angel with wings, with all the knives that have been taken off the street. Be interested if someone could do that with all the guns. All right. So a San Antonio teenager charged with murder went up to the judge trying to get a bond reduction, and thankfully they did not lower the bond. That doesn't happen that often anymore. I feel like, especially in Harris County, they tend to keep lowering the bond until they can get out. But not in this case in San Antonio.
Attorneys for a San Antonio teenager charged with capital murder are trying to get him out of jail. James Garcia and his defense team were in court today asking a judge to lower his bond. Garcia and another teen are accused of killing and robbing a man who was selling them a gun. Erica Hernandez with the judge's decision.
He is such a young child.
Defense attorney Suzanne Kramer asking the court this morning for a bond reduction for her client, James Garcia. Garcia earlier this year, along with another teen, allegedly planned to rob Stephen Gagne, who was selling them a gun. Gagne met the teens on March 30th on the south side on Chancellor Avenue near South Florida Street. That meeting turned deadly when investigators say Garcia shot Gagne. Garcia was arrested in May along with David Francisco Rebelo Garcia. In court Wednesday, Kramer laid out her case for Garcia's bond to be lowered so he can get out of jail.
I know that he's got a fabulous support system. I know this occurred while he was living with his mother. I would like for the ability to have Mr. Garcia out so that it makes it a whole lot easier for us to prepare the case as well.
The state argued against that, saying that while this was Garcia's first offense as an adult, he had previous charges as a juvenile.
This was a premeditated event, Your Honor, in which the victim, they intended to rob the victim by the defendant's own statement. What occurred after this robbery or during the course of this robbery is absolutely tragic.
After reviewing letters from Garcia's family, Judge Joel Perez made his decision.
I'm going to deny any relief, and so I'm going to leave the bond amount at $300,000.
As for the co-defendant in this case, while he was originally charged with capital murder, he was later only indicted for aggravated robbery. As for James Garcia, for now, it looks like he will remain in jail. Still no word if the state will be seeking the death penalty in this case.
Oh, I hope so. You don't really see that many capital murder charges, at least in Harris County. There's been plenty of cases where they should be charged for capital murder because it's something similar. It's in the commission of another crime. But that doesn't seem to happen that often for whatever reason. So it's bad enough being labeled a rapist, I guess. But if you're a rapist, that's too bad. But imagine that the name that the media comes up with or the police is the bad breath rapist. That's a pretty shitty name to have, but I think that's hilarious that that is what he will be known for forever. But yeah, so this teenager, you know, I agree, mommy can't save you this time. It's not for the defense attorney to say it's a very young child or a young child. He's not a young child. He is a teenager that is a grown man that is taller than his defense attorney. Like, no. And he has convictions as a juvenile. He's been running the streets. I'm glad that they're charging him with capital murder, and I'm glad that he's not getting out and playing the system, because that does happen a lot. And especially with families that I know where, you know, they go up in front of the judge and it's always boo-hoo, poor me. Oh, we're so poor. Please let me out of prison. Like, no. I mean, I know that people have the right to bond and all that stuff, but when it comes to capital capital murder. No. So, anyway, enough about that little shit. Now on to the bad breath rapist. It's not a high charge for that, a high bond for that charge. I agree, but I've seen much lower for capital murder, so I'm glad that it's at least 300,000. Yeah, so the bad breath rapist. This is coming out of the Boston area. He's sentenced to 18 to 20 years in prison. That's great, and I love that everybody knows that his breath smells like crap. That's wonderful.
Man dubbed the bad breath rapist learned his fate today. After 17 years on the run, he'll spend up to 20 years behind bars. WBZ's Beth Germano is live for us in Dedham tonight. And Beth, finally some closure on this almost 2 decades long case.
Well, it was certainly the long arm of the law that caught up with twin Lee, who is finally back in a Dedham courtroom after living for years on the West Coast with a new identity. The victim in this horrific case watched the proceedings protected via Zoom, but made her voice heard in court.
He was on the run for nearly 2 decades, but today, 55-year-old twin Lee was back in the same Dedham courtroom where he was convicted of kidnapping and brutally raping a co-worker back in February of 2007 and offered this apology.
I'm so sorry for everybody. I hope God forgive me everything I do.
Lee was out on bail when he fled Massachusetts before the jury handed down its verdict. A tip leading investigators to Northern California back in May, where he was married for 13 years and living under an alias Randy Lee. His attorney offering this reason.
He had been beaten in jail early on and attacked, bitten. And so he was terrified of going back to jail, and he just, human weakness.
But the crime he was convicted of was summed up this way by the judge who sentenced Lee to 18 to 20 years.
The crimes for which the defendant was convicted involved violence and cruelty.
Lee, wearing gloves and with a knit cap over his face, repeatedly raped the co-worker from his family's Quincy restaurant in her apartment at knife point, tying her up with zip ties. A victim impact statement was read on her behalf.
It left a permanent scar on my body and my soul, like a dark shadow, which follows me no matter where I go.
The victim, who also identified Lee from what she says was his bad breath, called it a nightmare she's lived with for years.
There are times I still feel the defendant's arms around my neck. I suffer from chronic panic attacks. I want nothing more than to just be normal again.
Prosecutors seeking 28 to 30 years said it's a scenario that is all too familiar.
This is completely unacceptable that still, in this day and age, that women are unable to live free from this kind of violence in their own homes.
Now, Lee's wife was also watching from California. His attorney says that she stands by him, but the defense calls the sentence too severe and does plan an appeal. Reporting live from outside Norfolk Superior Court.
I think that is an excellent sentence. Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Judge, for that very long sentence. You don't normally see sentences that long when it comes to sexual assault. So thank you. I like you. And for the wife that's standing by him, boo. Yeah, 2007 doesn't seem that long ago. It doesn't feel that long ago, and I'm feeling old. But yeah, he was identified by his bad breath. I wonder if he has halitosis or something. Yeah. And then for the defense attorney, he's scared in prison. They bit him. They're touching him. Oh, he doesn't like people touching him without his consent? What a novel idea. I'm sure the rape victim also did not want to be touched without her consent. I'm all here for it, so I hope you enjoy your prison sentence and have fun. So talking about businesses being robbed and talking about that earlier with shoplifting and robbery rings. So in Houston, There was a robbery ring that got busted recently, thankfully. Let's hope that the judges are just as tough on them as this judge was on the bad breath rapist.
And in the last 2 hours, 3 or 4 suspects in an organized burglary ring in the Houston area appeared in court. That crime spree targeted 76 businesses in the last 7 months. This is a story you will see only on KHOU 11. Ugochi Iloka joins us outside the Harris County Criminal Courthouse with what happened today.
Right now, the burglary suspects are behind bars after signing new bond conditions today. The district attorney's office says that some of these businesses hit by the suspects lost so much money they had to shut down. This is new video of the suspects, Augustine Uristi, Ricardo Middleton, and Torian Potts in court this morning. They all are charged with engaging in organized crime. Potts is also charged with burglary and arson, along with Ronnie O'Brien, who wasn't in court today. O'Brien was arrested in Smith County and will be extradited to Harris County. This is exclusive video provided to us by the owner of the Phoenix restaurant on Westheimer, showing thieves in April breaking into their safe.
Broke through doors, broke through another door, broke through a third door, cut through the safe, stole a lot of cash.
The smash and grab burglars got away with over $300,000 in cash and caused over $100,000 in damages to bars, restaurants, and small businesses from October of last year to April of this year. Mark Clayton's business Squabble in the Heights was also targeted a few months earlier.
Cut us some slack, we're just working hard, trying to provide for our families and our staff, and just would be nice to be left alone.
The prosecutor on this case says the suspects were caught in the act at Pink Pizza. Investigators found evidence on their phones with pictures of money and liquor bottles from the restaurants.
There were 4 suspects involved in these smash glass cases and steal safe property cash within the business, including electronics, used to make payments.
And the ADA says that a search warrant was issued at Middleton's house where more evidence was found. A discovery hearing is scheduled for October 1st where they'll go over that evidence. Reporting outside.
So those 5 or 6 guys targeted 76 businesses, and some of them it was bad enough that they had to shut down. I know Gringo's is a restaurant in the Houston area too that I know got hit. I don't know if it was by them, but I've seen a similar video. Those guys are idiots, and I hope that they get different charges for each one, because that's a lot of money that was taken from those businesses, and it's causing everything to be more expensive and businesses to shut down. I'm sick of it, so I say throw the book at him. Throw the book at him. Do it. All right, so moving on to cold cases. If I could just get the videos to cooperate, that would be great.
And in the last 2 hours, 3 or 4.
Stop it, YouTube.
It has been a cold case
There
for
we go.
decades.
Stop, pause. I swear, I'm just trying to make things look pretty and have transitions or something, and YouTube's messing up my vibe.
It has been a cold case for decades, but today a breakthrough in the vicious slaying of a teenager found stabbed and strangled on a street in South Pasadena. Detectives say 70-year-old serial killer William Suff has confessed to the 1986 slaying of a young mother named Kathy Small.
Small is one of more than a dozen women murdered during Suff's reign of terror in the Inland Empire in the 1980s and 90s. KTLA's Mary Beth McDade joins us live in Hollywood with reaction from Small's sister about the long journey to justice. MB.
Yes, and Mike and Cher, the sister, tells me that she has been staying on top of her sister's case for all these years, keeping in constant contact with the different teams of detectives trying to find her sister's killer. And now, nearly 40 years later, she is finally getting the answers that she's been longing for.
It's just a relief to finally get the answers I've waited for so many years.
Dina Larson has been waiting nearly 40 years to find out who murdered her big sister. Dina was only 10 when 19-year-old Kathy Small was found brutally stabbed and strangled in February 1986 on Bank Street in South Pasadena.
Kathy was a very kind person. She had a big heart. She would do anything for anybody. She was just a great big sister.
Small, a mother of two little boys, was last seen by her Lake Elsinore roommate going to meet a man named Bill.
Throughout the years, numerous leads were followed up by detectives, but the case remained unsolved.
The case would remain cold until 2019, when police responded to a man found dead of natural causes in a house right across the street from where Small's body had been found years ago. Inside his home, there were disturbing items, including numerous photos of women being drugged and assaulted, and a newspaper clipping about Small's death. This prompted detectives to take a new look at Small's case.
They discovered that none of the items of evidence, including a sexual assault kit and victim's clothing, were ever tested for DNA.
Detectives determined the dead man in the house had no connection to Small's case. But DNA results from Small's clothing and sex assault kit were linked to 70-year-old William Bill Suff. Suff, known as the Riverside prostitute killer and the Lake Elsinore killer, who's on death row for killing a dozen other women between 1989 and 1991, confessed.
He confessed and discussed in detail the murder of Kathy Small.
It's a relief. I don't know if there'll ever be closure. That's hard with this. But to get the answers that I've been waiting for all the years.
And Dina says she's grateful to all the hardworking detectives who never gave up on solving her sister's case.
I'm just glad that there's finally been justice brought to everything and that she wasn't just another number.
And the LA County Sheriff's Department says that prosecutors will not be formally prosecuting this case against Suff because he has already been sentenced to death for prior convictions. Now, I did ask Dina about Small sons, and she says that she doesn't think that they know that their mother's case has been solved because they are currently both incarcerated. For now, reporting live here in Hollywood, Mary Beth McDade. We'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
Mary Beth, thank you.
That major break in the disturbing cold case murder of a mother in Everett. Prosecutors now say they've linked two men to the violent home invasion and shooting.
Today, we also learned the FBI and law enforcement across the region think this case is connected to a string of violent robberies targeting Asian families. KOMO's Jeremy Harris is live outside the federal courthouse. And Jeremy, one of the suspects appeared there this afternoon.
He did, and he pleaded not guilty, but both defendants could be facing up to life in prison for federal charges known as RICO, or the Racketeer Influenced Corrupt Organization Act. It's a rarely used charge, but prosecutors say it was necessary in this case for a group that's accused of targeting Asian families with violent home invasion robberies, and in one case, murdering a young mother.
Her life was stolen from her. It was stolen from her son. It was stolen from her family.
It was a case that devastated an Everett family and shocked the community. Ira Salk shot and killed in front of her husband during a home invasion robbery in the middle of the night in August 2022.
I lost my wife, love of my life.
Today, a step toward justice.
A mother was murdered in front of her child, and this child's life will never be the same.
As federal officials announced they've arrested two men believed to be connected to Salk's murder.
They kicked in doors. Sometimes they said they were law enforcement. And they corralled the victims in the home, including children, and they restrained them, often with zip ties.
U.S. Attorney for Western Washington Tessa Gorman says the suspects, Kevin Thistle and Christopher Johnson, were ringleaders of a gang that was committing home invasions across the region.
One of the modus operandi of this group, of course, was targeting Asian American families.
The indictment alleges the gang, quote, perceived Asian victims as weaker and would stalk their homes and research them on social media.
We use the expertise of FBI teams specializing in cell phone and forensic analysis, who, working skillfully behind the scenes, were able to reveal irrefutable evidence.
Both suspects were already in custody before today's indictment. Thistle was charged with shooting a man in Tacoma earlier this year, and Johnson was in custody on domestic violence charges.
The indictment alleges a criminal enterprise, and although only 2 people right now, Thistle and Johnson, are charged, I want to assure you that our investigation continues until we understand the full scope of the conduct and others are held to account.
The U.S. Attorney said today this is the first time in 17 years that RICO charges have been filed here at this U.S. District Court. They can come with a punishment of up to life in prison. Now, for now, the list has 7 home invasion robberies on it, but we're told from the FBI and other investigators that that could grow as they continue to look into this group. I'm also told from the Snohomish County prosecuting attorney that they expect to file the murder charges in this case in Snohomish County. For now, reporting.
Yeah, it does sound like it should also be a hate crime charge. I do agree with that. But the thing that's probably going to carry the most weight is going to be those RICO charges, because that's how they seem to catch so many people, not catch, but keep them in prison. I want to show you guys a story that will definitely piss you off, and the failures of our justice system. So, I couldn't find the video on YouTube, so I'm going to share Twitter. Andy Kahn tweeted this. Andy, I know Andy. He was actually the first person that I've ever had as a guest on my YouTube. He's been a victim advocate for 30 some odd years. Is it raining? Oh my gosh, it's raining. Sorry, I'm just excited it's raining because it's so dry. So these 2 men, they are 20 years old. They led police on a chase and all this stuff. So the district attorney's office tried to revoke these guys' bond 6 times, and they didn't allow it. So that's one of the reasons why I was so impressed that they didn't lower the bond in the capital murder charge in Bexar County. I keep wanting to say Bexar because there's an X in it, and even though I know it's Bexar, my brain stutters. So these guys have been arrested 20 times and keep getting bond. Let's see, is there going to be a commercial first? Oh no. Oh. Oh, I need to share the other screen. Oh God. Hold on. Let's go back. Go back. There's too many windows. Go back. I want to show you guys this video. I didn't realize that there was another pop-up. Hold on. Is it this one? Yes, it's the right window now. Okay.
Were free from jail on multiple felony bonds.
One of them is serving 3 probations in 2 different counties. Fox 26's Randy Wallace joining us live from the criminal courthouse with the latest. Randy.
Yeah, Anthony, 6 times the DA's office asked the 263rd Court to revoke Nathan Ybarra's probations. Judge Melissa Morris would grant him more bonds instead. They're just 20 years old, and yet Nathan Ybarra and Eric Mesa have each been arrested more than 20 times in Harris County alone.
Both of these guys are basically 2-man crime sprees that are running amok.
Both Ybarra and Mesa were free from jail on 6 bonds each.
But people who have multiple bonds should not be given the opportunity to be repeat offenders and put the citizens of Houston and Harris County at risk.
Ybarra was serving 2 probations in Harris County and another probation in Galveston County.
When you continuously a repeat offender for the same type of offenses, you shouldn't be allowed to be given any type of probation.
Ybarra has picked up 6 new criminal charges since getting probation here in July of last year. Instead of revoking Ybarra's probation, 263rd Judge Melissa Morris grants Ybarra yet another bond so he can leave jail.
This is why we have, lost our faith in our criminal justice system, is because of people like Ybarra and his cohort, Mesa.
Last Wednesday afternoon, police say they caught Mesa and Ybarra in the act of stealing a vehicle in the 10,300 block of the East Freeway.
The suspects used their vehicle in an attempt to bring harm and bodily injury to one of our officers, and our officer did in fear of his life fired his weapon at the vehicle.
Putting umpteen amount of people at danger, putting law enforcement at great risk with their own lives, and even putting the defendants at risk as well. And none of this should have ever happened. They should have been locked up.
Now, tomorrow morning, Ybarra will be the subject of a bond revocation hearing. He and Mesa are both currently in jail.
Oh, finally.
Reporting live from the courthouse, Randy Wallace, Fox 26 News.
I'm going to look them up and make sure that they're still in jail. Yeah, so the hell was that? Sorry, I heard a puppy, and I don't have a puppy. Must be something outside. So in Harris County, I spoke to Andy the other day. There have been, so he has a list of people that have been murdered by repeat violent offenders that are out on bond. And he started tracking this, I think, in 2018. And there have been 210 people murdered by repeat violent offenders out on multiple bonds. It is so bad that Fox 26 has a series. So if you go to fox26.com, they have an entire series called Breaking Bond. Oh, it is pouring good. The ground is so dry it's cracked. So hopefully I don't lose power. Or the internet. If I go away, then I lost the internet or power, and I'll be back as soon as I'm able to. Yeah, so if you go to fox26houston.com, they have so many more stories of these. There are so many judges that are doing this, and your constitutional right, you do have to get a bond, but bond can be revoked if it's capital murder, if they're a danger to society. And I think these guys count as a danger, or their bond needs to be much higher. There are a couple judges in Harris County that I think are fantastic, but we have too many judges that are doing shit like this. Like, they should have had they absolutely should have had their bond revoked. I think that's absolutely ridiculous that they didn't have their bond revoked, especially when they're out committing other crimes. That just doesn't make any sense to me. And I remember when you were on probation, you did anything wrong, they would drag you back to jail, and that doesn't happen anymore. So what are they afraid of? They're gonna do as much as they can before they go to prison. Bye, Dana. Have a good day. So, speaking of prison, let's go back to Utah for a minute.
Investigators claim he raped 2 women, faked his own death, fled the country, was caught in a hospital in Scotland, then extradited back here to Utah in January. I'm Fox 13 News reporter Emily Tenser. Thursday was the preliminary hearing for one of Nicholas Rossi's rape trials.
Famous former international fugitive Nicholas Rossi takes notes, whispers with his attorneys, and continues to argue he's somebody else.
Mr. Rossi? Still Mr. Knight?
The American claiming to be an Irishman has a confusing list of aliases. He's known to the world as Nicholas Rossi, but his legal name is Nicholas Alaverdian. Yet he's telling everyone and the judge his name is actually Arthur Knight. When prosecutors tried to clarify Thursday, Rossi's defense quickly shut it down.
What was his name at birth?
Just before we go further, not stipulated right now.
That question was never answered, but Detective Derek Coates, the only witness on the stand, answered many others, specifically about the alleged sexual assault in Salt Lake.
Approximately when did she tell you that Nicholas Rossi had sexually assaulted her?
That was in December of 2008.
There is no DNA in the Salt Lake County case, to your understanding, correct?
Correct.
Rossi is also facing charges in Utah County for another alleged rape, also in 2008. His preliminary hearing for that is next Tuesday. It was news of that case that inspired the Salt Lake victim to come forward and report it.
I find and conclude that the state has met its burden and has presented evidence sufficient to establish probable cause to believe that the crime charged in the information was committed, and it was committed by this defendant.
October 17th will be his arraignment as well as his bail hearing, which should be pretty interesting given that he has a history for allegedly fleeing the country.
October 17th.
Reporting in the 3rd
Hold
District
on.
Courthouse in
Hold
Lake.
on. I need to write that down because that hearing I need to see. Let's see, October 17th. That is a Thursday. I'm putting it in my calendar because, yeah, that I need to see. That guy is absolutely nuts. And that is going to be very interesting, to say the least. Hopefully, I mean, it doesn't matter how he acts as long as there's justice. But I like how some of these people think that acting like a nutball is going to help them be free, like they're not going to be able to figure out. So in Los Angeles, there are 2 teenagers missing and a newborn with them. The mother of the newborn is the 14-year-old that is missing.
Begin with that search for a missing 3-week-old baby and her 14-year-old mother. Police believe they could now be heading to the high desert. At one point today, another 15-year-old was also missing, but according to family, she is now back at home. NBC4's Anastasia Olmos is live in El Sereno. And Anastasia, you just spoke to the family a little while ago. What else did they have to tell you?
Well, Robert, the family tells me that they received a call from the 14-year-old, and the 14-year-old said that she and the baby are okay, but the family does not know where they are. Their biggest concern right now is that that baby needs her medicine. Now, the aunt of Raquel Brown is her name. She tells me that she is the guardian of 14-year-old Amoria Brown. She says Amoria left the apartment here in El Sereno around 9 p.m. last night with the baby. Amoria's aunt says she had just taken her in the last month after she was released from juvenile hall in Barstow. She believes Amoria left to return to the high desert. Now, Brown says Amoria had the baby premature 3 weeks ago and had just gotten out of the hospital. The baby takes daily medicine for a heart condition, which Amoria left without.
The baby was premature, and we just found out that she has heart problems, and she's currently on medications. It's just a lot right now, like trying to take it all in, process it. I just want the baby to be okay. Like, she's not a bad mom. I'm not going to say like she's bad. She's young. Like, you know, I can't just expect her to change overnight. Like, you know what I mean? So I do want to make that clear, but I'm here to help.
Amoria Brown is about 5'4", approximately 140 pounds. She was last seen wearing a multicolored shirt, gray shorts, and gray sandals. Now, Amoria's aunt believes that she is in Victorville, but she doesn't know who she's with. She's asking anyone with information to please contact the LAPD. Reporting live here in El Sereno.
Sounds like that kid has already led a very troubled life. She got out of juvenile, pregnant at 14. I hope for her baby's sake that she's able to get it together and that the baby's okay. I hope that they're found safe and healthy. And the aunt, I think, said things the right way. She doesn't want to attack her. She just wants the baby back and safe. And back to stealing. Copper thieves. Copper thieves are a big issue everywhere, but they're risking their life to steal the copper because they're climbing up very high, which I won't even climb up on a roof, but you know, I mean, you guys would be great construction workers.
And we begin tonight with a new warning. Thieves going to great lengths to steal copper wire, not only impacting service to some neighborhoods, but putting their own lives at risk.
Can you believe that? Tonight, WFAA's Teresa Woodard has a new plea from police that if you see something, say something.
And these criminals, they don't care about anything other than themselves.
Bold, brazen, that's one way to describe it. But it is dangerous, potentially deadly. Garland police shared these images of a sudden surge in copper thieves going to great heights.
These cables that are 20, 30 feet above their head, if they cut the wrong cable, they could likely die.
To steal utility lines.
And they're doing it in broad daylight in front of the public.
That's new wire up there because this intersection got hit just a couple of weeks ago. Police say it was 6 o'clock on a Wednesday night when someone parked a U-Haul trailer out here and blocked a lane of traffic. They were loading that U-Haul with the stolen copper cable from up there. They got caught after a police pursuit.
Stop stealing stuff that doesn't belong to you.
This woman lives in Northwest Dallas. Her neighborhood's been hit.
The thieves are back.
Multiple times. It's happened in Fort Worth, Arlington. This video came from a man who lives in southern Dallas's Redbird neighborhood. That's another suspect posing as a worker. Each crime leaves customers without internet and costs providers thousands of dollars.
No, this is not one huge organized crime syndicate. This is individual people committing these types of crimes, and they're doing it right in front of us.
Police say they don't know what started the spike. They do know it needs to stop. In Garland, I'm Teresa
Hell yeah,
Woodard.
it needs to stop.
A former Houston urban park ranger is back in jail this afternoon after allegedly...
Thank you. Has the price of copper gone up? Maybe it's worth more. I wonder if that's why a lot of areas don't even have my thoughts. I talk with my hand. The power lines and stuff. A lot of areas don't even have that. There's boxes. Like my cable has a box, and then the power has a box, and it's underground. And I know it's connected to something much further back, but those lines are way higher than 30 feet. I wonder if that's some of the reason why things are being built like that in new communities. You also don't have mailboxes in a lot of communities anymore. You have the secure mailboxes because everybody's stealing shit. Sorry, I'm still looking at what's going on outside. But man, I am so happy for the rain. I never thought that I would be so happy for rain. Like living in Florida, every summer it rained a ton. Not in Texas. Not in Texas. Yeah, I think boxes and buried cables are probably the best for areas to have now because of these thieves. And it's safer, and I think it doesn't get knocked out as much. I could be wrong. So anyway, moving back to Houston, a former park ranger forced somebody to get naked and give him money.
A former Houston urban park ranger is back in jail this afternoon after allegedly violating his bond conditions. 33-year-old Joey Lamar Ellis was charged with official oppression earlier this summer for allegedly threatening to arrest people in city parks if they didn't take their clothes off and pay him money. Devon Roming joining us live from the Harris County Justice Center. Devon, what charges is Ellis facing now?
Well, Reka, Ellis is facing another official oppression charge as well as an enhanced sexual assault charge. Now, he was arrested again for allegedly violating his initial bond conditions, which prevented him from leaving the area after several people called in saying he was living in his native Louisiana. The defense says he went back to Louisiana because he lost his job here as a park ranger. Since his current arrest, the state says more victims have come forward, including one alleging Ellis told him to pay him or perform oral sex on him, or he would have his car towed in a park. Prosecutors say the victim allegedly ended up performing oral sex on Ellis, who is now facing an enhanced sexual assault charge resulting in a hate crime because prosecutors believe he's targeting his victims, who are all men, because of their sexual preferences. Meanwhile, Ellis's defense attorney says he denies all the allegations against him.
We're just so grateful for their bravery and their courage to come forward, because I can't imagine, I know it can't be easy, but because of them, he is back behind bars where he belongs.
I personally believe that everyone is innocent unless they are proven guilty, and that everyone is entitled to a strong and zealous advocating defense.
Now, Ellis has no prior criminal history, only traffic violations. The judge set his bond at $75,000 on the enhanced sexual assault charge and
That's it?
$60,000 on each of the 2 official oppression charges. Live in downtown Houston.
You would think with an enhanced charge it would be much more, 75,000. Good morning, Steve. Yeah, that's pretty wild. That's horrible. But, you know, I'm sure his mindset is it's not gay if you're not doing it, right? So, another former city employee, this is up in Oklahoma. Well, deputies, probably the county. So, a deputy in Oklahoma faked a chase. I guess it's better than being told to strip naked and give money or a BJ like the park ranger did.
A former deputy finds himself on the wrong side of the law. He's now facing criminal charges.
It all stems from a reported chase and shooting nearly 3 years ago. McIntyre Law Chopper 4 was over the scene back in 2021 in Pottawatomie County. But now, in new court papers, investigators say the deputy made it all up. News 4's Caitlin Ogle has the update.
This is the rural county road where the deputy claimed everything unfolded. But detectives say as they continue their investigation, nothing was adding up.
Everybody's going to make mistakes.
Show me your hands!
When you cross the line, different story.
Pottawatomie County Sheriff Mike Booth talking about his former deputy, Taylor Smith. Body cam video from September 2021 shows him driving over 100 miles per hour during an alleged pursuit on his phone, driving with his knee.
Small sedan, 4-door.
According to court documents, during the chase, Smith said he saw, quote, a black male passenger armed with a long gun hop out of the car and run.
I'll be super suit. He has a rifle, large backpack, red shirt, black male.
Minutes later, backup arrives, taking Smith back to his car, and he drives over to this gate.
He said the guy hopped over a fence into this big field. As he approached the fence, this guy started shooting at him, so he returned fire.
Those alleged gunshots were never heard, but investigators heard this.
Shot fired! Shot fired! Get down! Show me your hands!
McIntyre Law Chopper 4 overhead as authorities combed the area for hours, but court papers saying, quote, there were no obvious signs or tracks to follow.
That's when I said, everybody stop, everybody come out, called OSBI, had them come in. I want everything roped off, nobody go from here. I was highly skeptical about what I'd heard.
What investigators did find were Smith's shell casings. Sheriff Booth says surveillance video they obtained also showing Smith's patrol unit, but no sedan. Other deputies telling investigators they, quote, observed no dust trails or the suspected vehicle.
Did not come across the vehicle yet?
Of course, as a human being, you wonder why this or why that, but you still just follow the facts.
In Pottawatomie County, Caitlin Ogle, Oklahoma's News 4.
What was the motive there? The sheriff says Smith resigned during the investigation. We called Smith and his attorney, but neither got back to us. He now faces a misdemeanor charge of filing a false report.
What? Why, dude? Why? I have so many questions, and I like how the reporter said the county name so quickly. Pottawatomie County. I think that's how it was. Pottawatomie or something, county. That is, yeah, like, was he trying to get on leave? Because I know when you discharge your weapon, there's normally an investigation, so he knew that they were going to investigate it. You're a cop. You know the procedures. I am so confused. That doesn't make any sense at all. So in Louisiana, a detective that used to be on Special Victims Unit has now been charged also with being a serial molester.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Katie Moore.
And I'm Cherise Gibson. Stanley Burkhardt is a former New Orleans police detective who won praise for busting child abusers in the 70s and 80s.
But then Burkhardt was caught molesting children, and he's been in and out of prison now 6 times. He's back on the streets again.
So WWL investigator David Hammer went to confront him to find out why this time will be any different.
Richard Winman knows the evil of pedophilia all too well. He was only 9 in 1974 when Boy Scout leaders raped him and other boys in his troop. In the late 70s, he alleged abuse by a priest and a janitor at Jesuit High School. Now, he runs Survivors of Childhood Sex Abuse and helps dozens of other survivors across the country with their painful memories. But Winman said nothing compares to the evil he experienced at the hands of Stanley Carl Burkhardt, the former chief of the New Orleans Police Department's Child Abuse Unit.
Stanley Burkhardt is the epitome of evil. I've never met anybody like him ever in the world.
Burkhardt admitted while in a federal prison treatment program that he molested 8 boys and 4 girls in the 1970s and 80s, using his position of trust to prey on them.
New Orleans police headquarters on the 3rd floor, where the first offense took place.
A federal judge found Burkhardt molested Winman approximately 40 times in 3 years.
He would put me on a mailbox on St. Philip Street in the French Quarter, where the pedophiles are known to cruise. They make the block. And he would make me have sex with the pedophiles so he can make cases against them.
Court records show Burkhardt has pled guilty or was sent to prison 6 times over more than 30 years. In 1987, for trafficking child pornography. In 1992, for molesting his 9-year-old niece. In 1998, when police raided his house and found more porn and a 12-year-old boy inside. In 2006, when he snuck out of a halfway house and went to a library to access more child porn. In 2011, when he was committed as sexually dangerous. And in 2019, when he violated his parole. In 2018, our reporting partner Ramon Antonio Vargas knocked on Burkhardt's door.
I saw testimony that he offered in which he had, neighbors that were supportive of him who let him know, hey, there's press on your lawn, don't come outside.
Burkhardt later claimed in court he was so stressed by the publicity, it drove him to download hundreds of images of child porn. 5 years ago, he went back to the Federal Corrections Medical Center in Butner, North Carolina. But this month, a federal judge in North Carolina released Burkhardt yet again.
They give them 2 different drugs that chemically castrate them, but then they find out that that doesn't work.
What makes these judges think that this is going to work this time?
They don't consider the human factors. They don't consider the circumstances.
Those circumstances are that last week, Burkhardt notified the sex offender registry of this new home address on St. Maurice Street in the lower 9th Ward. And it's right next to a house with a basketball goal, right across from another house with young kids. And the neighbors say nobody warned them until we did.
Parents not even knowing that this guy is living here, it's really sad. And, knowing people in our community are not big on media, they're not going to talk, but they're talking amongst each other, and they're not happy about it.
My friend Keisha Henry is a behavioral health specialist, and she's a lifelong resident of the neighborhood.
It's just unimaginable. And we've gotten cards in the mail from offenders before, but I've never seen an offender of this magnitude move into this neighborhood.
Burkhardt hasn't answered our phone calls, so we rang his doorbell. This time, he did open the door, briefly.
So I think he probably wasn't expecting it this time, and obviously wasn't tipped off that, hey, there's reporters outside.
We tried again about an hour later.
Stanley, is there anything you want to tell your neighbors?
Stanley, we want to give you one more chance to talk and explain why this is safe this time. Sounds like the TV is on. I don't think he's coming out. Windman says he wants to make sure every one of Burkhart's new neighbors knows exactly who he is. And he has this message for his tormentor.
As long as you're on the street, I'm going to be a serious problem for you. And so you might as well go back to the prison where you get air conditioning and 3 meals a day. Not on my streets.
David Hammer, WWL, Louisiana.
Yeah, that's crazy. How does somebody with this many charges and that keeps reoffending end up back on the street? Like, that is absolutely ridiculous. And Steve, you're right. Why does the system protect these people? How does he keep getting out and keep reoffending? He shouldn't be out. I feel like when it comes to crimes against children in general, it's too light. I have seen so many children that were killed and the person's not charged with murder, they're charged with some other crap and they only get a couple years. And molesting somebody seriously impacts them for the rest of their lives. I think anybody, especially if they're in a position of power, it should be an enhanced charge. If you're a priest or a police officer or a doctor, like, you're abusing what is supposed to be a trusted position. This person should not see the light of day. You know, Louisiana used to have child rape under 12 as a capital crime. And some states are trying to bring it back, but they can't because it is federally unconstitutional. The Supreme Court already found it unconstitutional. Some states have passed bills for it, but I don't see it being upheld because the Supreme Court already found it unconstitutional. I think somebody like this should absolutely be locked away and not let back out because clearly they can't control themselves. Like, how many times does this person have to reoffend? That's just, it's ridiculous. And it makes me so mad. And this is why I take kava and stuff like that to relax, because Lord, nope. So we talked a lot about San Francisco today, and San Francisco is also having an issue with street takeovers. Street takeovers are happening all over the country. They've been issues in Houston, San Antonio. I used to be able to hear when they were doing donuts and stuff in the IKEA parking lot, but then the police started being there so that they couldn't do it. But it's happening all over the country. And yes, I agree, Lindsay. What kind of program was he in? Because clearly that program doesn't treat shit.
Loud, annoying, and disruptive. A large group of dirt bikes and ATVs rumbled through San Francisco and Oakland yesterday. The riders causing traffic issues and sparking lots of concerns from neighbors. Today, those neighbors say they are fed up with the disrespect and the chaos. And they're asking city leaders on both sides of the bay to do something. Here's NBC Bay Area's Sergio Quintana.
At Valencia and 23rd Streets in San Francisco, video shows dirt bikers popping wheelies on the center bike lane and doing donuts in the intersection.
And it went on and on and on, and there was no stop to it.
For more than 90 minutes, San Francisco resident Sharky Laguana shot video of the group of about 100 motorbikers take over the intersection. Just before their arrival in the Mission, they had done similar stunts in the Castro neighborhood. Traffic there ground to a crawl. One of the cars that seemed to be associated with the motorbike group parked in the street, blocking the F-line streetcar for a few minutes. In video shot in the Mission, police did eventually show up with lights and sirens. The bikers rode off, some even doing spin-outs right in front of the officers along the way. Laguana says he's used to the occasional group of dirt bikers riding through the city, but this was next level.
They have to be held accountable. If they're not held accountable, it's just going to keep happening, and it's just going to get worse.
Do you think it's gotten worse?
Oh, 100%.
Videos posted on social media seem to have touched a nerve with residents who say they're tired of the noisy bikes that occasionally take over parts of the city. Supervisor Raphael Mandelman says City Hall is well aware of the concerns raised by residents, but says police chasing them may cause more harm than good. In 2021, when the CHP responded to a pack of motorbikers on the Bay Bridge, most escaped by riding against traffic. A passenger on one of the bikes was thrown off and killed when the cyclist tried hopping a median barrier to get away. Before the Sunday mass of riders arrived in San Francisco, it's not clear if some of the same group was in Oakland. Police arrived in several police cars in response to reports of a robbery at a local gas station where the group was congregating. One person was taken into custody. In San Francisco, pictures and videos of the motorbikers and cars that seemed to be associated showed they didn't have license plates. According to the San Francisco Police Department, they have made no arrests, but they are investigating to try to figure out who all was involved.
Yeah.
In a prepared statement, a police spokesman says the department is also beginning to deploy drones to help track people in incidents like these. But he did not say if any were used yesterday.
Yeah. And Steve, you're absolutely right. All over the country, these kids realize that in groups, the cops can't do shit. They can't get everyone, and they know intimidation works. GTA literally broke our society. Yeah, this is an issue all over the country. Miami has had this issue for a long time. They're using ATVs to commit crime because they're able to get into places that they can't with other vehicles. And don't be in Miami for Martin Luther King Day. I'm just going to tell you that right now, because every Martin Luther King Day, there are thousands of ATVs and dirt bikes and all that stuff, and they clog up all over the city, and the cops can't do anything because there's not enough cops and so many of them, and it's dangerous to chase them, like they just said. So what are the cops going to do? Right, and everybody is wearing masks. Absolutely, Steve. They're using masks to bypass seeing who they are. Some areas have not outlawed, but you can't wear the poo shiesty mask in places where that's like a ski mask where it just, covers most of your face. Yeah, it's being absolutely ridiculous. So I'm going to show you guys a video. There was an Amazon driver. So I ordered Amazon this morning. And when you order, especially early Amazon, like it'll be delivered between 4 a.m. and 8 a.m., a lot of times they contract out to people that drive their own vehicles. So the person that delivered my package today was in their own vehicle. This happened in Miami. So I have 3 versions of this story, and I don't know if this one, I'm not going to play the one that shows the video because just hearing the baby scream got to me. The baby is okay. Before I go into this story, the baby is okay. So, yeah, there's the gig drivers, people that are doing these contract services. There's not really any repercussions because they're contractors for these companies. Amazon can get away with that. But this woman was driving for Amazon in a gated community, and a mother was pushing her baby in the crosswalk, and the woman just came out of nowhere and hit the mom, and the mom is up on the windshield of the vehicle, and the baby's stroller just like fell over. The baby wasn't hit. And this woman gets out of the car, puts the stroller back upright, and then leaves. I'll show, let me see. We'll see if this video plays it. This one's 1 minute and 49 seconds. I know the 2 minute and 33 second video plays it, but we'll see.
Also now at 11, a delivery driver hitting a woman and a baby in a stroller and then taking off without calling for help.
Miami-Dade police say they know the driver's name but are still looking for her tonight. Both baby and mom are okay, while neighbors are shocked.
Sure they are. CBS News Miami's Larry Seward is outside the jail where authorities are preparing their next move.
This is where detectives plan to deliver that driver who faces charges for leaving the scene of a crash that hurt a baby boy in a stroller and left his mom with a brain bleed. Behind the gates of Aventura Isles in Northeast Miami-Dade.
Well, she didn't call 911. Nothing, and just got in her car and left.
Disgust and disbelief hovers around the corner where Ring doorbell video caught the cries of a baby in a stroller hit by an SUV. It hit the boy's mother, too.
I heard her breathing, and my first instinct was to remove the baby out of the street. He was still in the middle of the road.
Around 8:30 Thursday morning, police say a delivery driver ran into a mom with her stroller.
The hit actually happened right here.
Cassie Kress is a nurse. She and her daughters rushed to help.
And saw that she was bleeding out of her head. I yelled for my girls to grab towels, which they were amazing.
Kress says other video shows the driver make a sharp turn, hit and drag the woman. The sound you hear in this clip is from the woman's baby crying in his overturned stroller. His mother is on camera lying in the street. Seconds later, the driver who hit them picks up the stroller and then drives off. But that driver left evidence. Security at this community requires guests to leave their ID at the gate. The suspect left hers behind. A neighbor close with the victim's family says that mother has a small brain bleed but is being monitored closely by doctors and is stable. Her baby is expected to be okay.
Yeah, one of the other news stations showed the whole video, and it's too much. I can't. Yes, Missy, you're right. My Amazon delivery this morning also showed a picture of the person delivering. So they were in a gated community. They had to give their ID. The woman is walking in a crosswalk, and she came around the corner really fast, and it was a really hard hit because the mom basically comes up and is like on top of the car, and then I'm guessing she flew off further down. But thank God the baby wasn't hit directly. Like, thank God that the baby's okay. Oh, so I'm not sure if you guys have seen the story where a neighbor killed another neighbor over an argument about dog poop. The neighbor confronted the neighbor with a dog that was allowing the dog to poop in his yard and not picking it up, and the man that was confronted killed the homeowner. But this person is not sorry at all whatsoever. There's been some outbursts in court, and it's just, yeah, this one I'm also going to try to keep an eye on, because he lashed out at the widow during a victim impact statement.
A grieving widow whose husband was shot to death in a neighborhood dispute was in the process of making her victim impact statement when the convicted killer made an outburst in court that brought the proceedings to a standstill. Les Trent spoke to the widow today.
That's why I killed you.
It's as stunning a moment in court as you'll ever see. A widow is giving a heartbreaking victim's impact statement at the sentencing of her husband's killer.
I beg your honor, the harshest sentence imposed to the coward, the murderer.
Suddenly, the neighbor convicted of the killing let loose.
Pathetic coward was your husband. Stability and sanity of an entire family.
That's why I killed you.
Spectators gasped in horror. As officers struggled to hustle him out of the courtroom, someone called out, "Burn in hell."
Burn in hell.
His lawyer had this to say.
I cannot tell you whether he meant a word that came out of his mouth today, or if this was just anger and frustration that boiled over.
Neighbors say 75-year-old Omar Rodriguez has been a menace for years. Police have logged more than 140 complaints about him. Rodriguez was found guilty of second-degree murder in May for shooting 52-year-old Jose Ray after a confrontation over his dog pooping in Rodriguez's yard in Miami. I spoke to the widow, Lizette Ray, and their daughter, Rebecca. A highly emotional time for you to be reading that and then to have this outburst. What's going through your head?
What I know was going through my head was he wasn't going to take this opportunity away from me and direct all the attention to him. He showed who he is now for the entire world to see. We finally got to hear his voice. Not that we want to hear it, but you can hear in his voice what a monster he is.
That's why I killed him.
The defendant was sentenced to 25 years to life. He won't be eligible for parole until the year 2049 when he'll turn 100 if he lives that long.
Yeah, let's hope that he stays in prison because he needs to be in prison, and hope that some stupid law about if you serve 20 years of your sentence, you can, or 10 years or something, that you can be out. He's 75, so he's probably going to die in prison, which is exactly as you should. And then his defense attorney, like, I don't know if he meant it or if he was just frustrated and angry. Okay, clearly your defendant has some serious anger issues. Clearly. All right, so I have a couple more videos. Well, I got a lot more. We'll see how much longer I stay on. I don't know if we'll finish them all. So this is one coming out of Detroit. Another crazy story. I'm not even going to do any sort of introduction.
We begin with a truly frightening situation in Westland. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Hillary Golston. A witness tells Fox 2 a driver smashed into multiple parked cars, including his own. We're going live now to Fox 2's Camille Amiri, who has this pretty incredible video. Camille, what can you tell us about the investigation thus far?
Yeah, well, you can see behind me, the investigation's still going on right now. Accident reconstruction teams out here, police still out here, crime scene tape out here. This happened on Wildwood in Westland, probably around 7:15, 7:30. Now, take a look at this video that you were talking about. I know, Hillary, you've gotten a chance to see it. This is from the witness who saw a portion of what she was doing, pulling in, backing up, crashing into cars. You can hear the screeching right now. Crashed into his car on the street. We also talked to several other witnesses who also saw this, who called 911. In all of this, while she was crashing into the cars, she apparently hit a man and pinned him partially under his own car. His legs actually went underneath his car, the red car that you see in this video. We talked to a witness who didn't want to go on camera earlier tonight, but said that she actually stayed with him until 911 came. The emergency crews came while his wife called 911. She said his legs were badly injured, but he was able to talk about his two little boys, twins, 2 months old. This was going to be the first time that he was going to go out to dinner with his wife, and the twins were going to be babysat by a family member. We also talked to the man who lives next door to them, whose car was crashed into, who videotaped this. Take a listen.
I was inside the house and I sort of heard a loud bang. Went outside, heard some people screaming, and I saw the lady in the red car over there, and then she just sort of started slamming into other cars as hard as she could. Came back and hit my car. I don't even know the lady. Neither of the neighbors know her. It was a random act of violence, honestly.
So the woman, her car was disabled. The airbags went off once she backed into these cars again. So she had to wait. I guess neighbors were actually telling me that they kind of stood around her car until police got here and took her into custody. They were saying that she was laughing at the time, that she may have been suffering some sort of mental breakdown. Neighbors are also saying that an old boyfriend lived here at this house a long time ago, but no longer lives here at this house with it. She was targeting, where she actually hit the guy in his legs, badly injured. So a lot to unpack on this story, but we will continue to follow it and update you as soon as we get more information. Reporting live in Westland, Camille Amiri, Fox 2 News.
Yeah, and Camille, that video really is shocking. I mean, it's hard to even look at because it appears that this person is driving into another vehicle on purpose. I mean, that's how it comes across in the video. Is there anyone else who could be responsible in this case besides the driver? Anyone who may have known what this person was up to before they went on this chaotic spree?
Well, we have heard that there was possibly a welfare check done on her because of her mental state earlier in the night, but those details we're still working on trying to get confirmed. So we know she was in the car by herself. We don't know what happened leading up to this, but we know that she, like you said, you saw her back up and then crash back in, and it was full speed ahead. We talked to probably 15 or 20 people who witnessed this, who just happened to be outside in the area or hear something and come out, and they believe that had those airbags not gone off and had her car not been disabled because of the back and forth, that she may have continued to do this. So obviously a lot more to come on this. A horrible tragedy, pulling for that man who, like I said, a young father, his legs badly injured, but conscious until he got, while he was being loaded up into the ambulance. So our prayers are with him.
Do cars disable now when your airbags go off? Is that a thing? I have no idea. I guess thank God they do that. That's horrible. Like, maybe she had a mental break, who knows? But this is why we need mental health services. This is why we need institutions. Some people need to be in a facility and not out at the public. Just saying. Everybody's losing their shit. All these people keep getting away with stuff. I'm going to have a mental breakdown and do some crazy shit too. I'm going to end up on my own damn show. So I have 2 road rage stories back to back. A Dallas man shoots at a vehicle and hits a child. And then a woman slapped somebody in a road rage incident.
Dallas police arrested a 50-year-old man for shooting a 2-year-old little girl. Hello, everybody. I'm Heather Hayes.
And I'm Steve Eager. It's 9 o'clock. Court documents reveal it may have been a case of road rage in an East Dallas neighborhood. Happened last night in this far East Dallas neighborhood. Police say a family on a DoorDash delivery turned onto the street where the alleged shooter was riding his motorcycle. They swerved to avoid hitting him and honked. Police say he then turned around, pulled a gun, and fired into their car. Fox 4's Amelia Jones spoke with witnesses, and she's live in Dallas tonight. Amelia.
Steve, the woman I spoke to said when police got to the scene, the accused shooter showed back up and asked her what happened, and then proceeded to make up a story about drug dealers in the neighborhood. She found out this morning that this was the man police arrested. A 2-year-old girl is in the hospital recovering after she was shot in the back seat of her parents' car. The 2 loud pops forced Jessika Husman out of her Far East Dallas home.
I got over to the car and it whipped around and then stopped next to me. And the mom, I assume, jumped out of the passenger side and said they shot my baby 2 times.
Husman saw the little girl in the back seat covered in blood. She told the family to go straight to the hospital while she called 911. Soon, dozens of Dallas police squad cars swarmed Husman Street.
The way that mom's voice sounded really just is all I can think about. And the way that little baby, she wasn't moving, she wasn't crying, and I really thought she was gone.
According to arrest documents, multiple witnesses told police around 8 p.m. on Sunday they saw a motorcycle with a sidecar that had a dog in it following a gray sedan. They say they saw the motorcyclist pull out a handgun and fire 2 shots. Police say witnesses identified the shooter as 50-year-old Jason Kane, who lives in the neighborhood. Before those witnesses identified him, police say Kane spoke to officers when they got to the scene. He told them that, quote, drug dealers that were involved in the shooting were down the street. This is the same story Husman heard.
And he said, oh yeah, that was me on the motorcycle, but I don't think I saw anything. And then he told me that there were drug dealers that lived on the next street. And I think he was attempting to imply that they had done it.
Detectives interviewed the family. They said they were delivering a DoorDash order when they saw Kane driving without his lights on in the middle of the street. They swerved to avoid him, and the 2 honked at each other. They say Kane proceeded to follow the family's car around the neighborhood and shout at them.
No, I didn't assume that one of my neighbors had shot a baby.
The police documents detail that when officers arrested Kane at his home, he resisted at first, but ultimately complied. Police say they also obtained video evidence of the shooting. When police searched Kane's home, they found multiple firearms, including automatic weapons and many satanic and Nazi symbols.
I hope that they do get the justice that they need, because that was horrific. That was really horrific.
This is the mugshot of 50-year-old Jason Kane. We just received it into our newsroom. His bond has been set at $850,000.
Wow.
He's currently being held here at the Dallas County Jail. Kane is facing 1 count of injury to a child and 3 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Police told us that the 2-year-old girl is stable in the hospital, but we don't have any information on her condition.
Thank God she's stable. Like, over a honk. Like, don't honk your horn unless, like, it's life or death. Like, I don't honk unless somebody is going to hit me, it's going to cause an accident. Like, I don't honk anymore because of this crazy crap. And I know too many people that have lost someone they love in a stupid road rage murder. See, that's what I'm talking about. Why isn't it attempted murder? Well, because it's a child. I need to ask an attorney or someone, because I don't know. Some of these charges, especially when it involves children, I don't think are bad enough. That poor kid. So now, a woman facing assault charges for slapping somebody in a road rage.
If you're on the road a lot, you've probably witnessed it yourself or even done it, the ever-brazen brake check. But what happened next on Grand Rapids Northwest side recently went way beyond that, and cameras documented every bizarre moment.
Target 8 investigator Susan Samples tracked down both drivers and a psychologist who deconstructed the drama.
If you thought the brake check was bad.
Wait, what, you chicken? What are you, what?
Hey,
you
get on my car.
Dumb Hey! What the was that?
Good question. I mean, what were you thinking at that moment, though? But first, to set the scene. On a mid-July Saturday, Michael Wynn and his fiancée had grabbed takeout sushi after a stressful day and were heading home through the Marsh Ridge Senior Community off Lake Michigan Drive west of Collindia.
It's a shortcut to our house. It's a lot safer instead of going on this roundabout.
What Wynn said he didn't know, drivers cutting through the private complex to avoid a nearby roundabout is a consistent problem. And Wynn was about to encounter one angry and unapologetic resident.
She didn't stop at the stop sign, and she just pulled out in front of us. So we tried slowing down just a bit, but she was upset how close we were.
When I pulled out here, they were boom, right on my butt. You're darn right, I'm gonna brake check them.
But Kalinda Jacobs didn't stop there.
When we honked at her to keep moving forward, she got out of her car.
Tesla wheel cameras don't record audio, but Wynn recalled.
She was yelling at me for speeding behind her, that I was tailgating her the entire time she was driving, which was for about 2 seconds.
Wynn admits he was speeding, going 18 or so, he said, in a 10-mile-per-hour zone. And by this point, he was yelling too.
Wait, what, you chicken? What are you, what? Hey, you get on my car. Dumb At that moment, I'm thinking, oh, here they got a Tesla, they got this, they're videotaping everything, they think their don't stink, and they know all the rules and laws, and they don't. They don't. They're disrespectful.
But you got out of your car and you went around and you reached into their car and slapped that woman. There is no defending that.
No, well, no, I'm not trying to defend it. I know I did wrong, but what she did was wrong also.
Wynn said he stopped recording on his cell phone after the slap because he needed his phone to dial 911. He did acknowledge he and his fiancée both exited their car after the slap, and he said when Jacobs continued to lunge, his fiancée did push Jacobs to defend herself.
Do I think mistakes were made in this altercation? Yeah, absolutely.
And that goes for both parties, said Ryan Martin, who researches and writes on anger. Though Jacobs was clearly the aggressor, and it's easy to Monday morning quarterback, Martin said Wynn and his fiancée could have just not engaged, not rolled down any windows.
Just give them nothing in return. Just put your car in reverse, back away, go a different direction, whatever it takes to just get away from that situation.
Especially because you never know. Road rage shootings, said Martin, are steadily increasing. In the last decade or so in West Michigan, 4 people were killed in 3 roadside confrontations. Martin advises drivers to stick to the mission, getting from point A to point B safely and, if possible, on time.
No, that's a hard thing to remember in the moment. And so one of the goals for people has to be to figure out, how do you, in the moment, find that pause button.
Martin suggests you actually practice in your mind. Imagine a tense driving situation and what you would do to de-escalate it. Michael Wynn says, looking back, he should have remained calm.
I think if I did that or spoke to her more respectfully, maybe it wouldn't have escalated, but I was yelling at her that this is crazy and I didn't want our sushi to go bad, you know.
Kalinda Jacobs was less introspective.
I wouldn't even call it a slap, but that's what she wants to say. She's a drama queen.
Kalinda Jacobs has been charged with misdemeanor assault, and while it's highly unlikely she would ever face jail time, the charge does carry up to 93 days in jail and or a $500 fine. In Grand Rapids,
She's going to get a $500 fine. But, like, don't engage. Clearly she's insane. Don't engage. Don't honk your horn. Don't let somebody brake check you. Don't interact. Like, don't do that. If somebody comes up to your car window, don't roll it down. And they are the victims, absolutely. But don't get out of your car. She's obviously insane. What if that had been Texas, y'all? I don't know the gun laws in Michigan. So, speaking of stupid reasons for people to die, so in Houston, at a food truck, these 3 guys asked another guy for $20, and he said he was going to go get the $20 and then came back with a gun. But it didn't end how you think it does.
Well, this happened last night in southwest Houston near the Gulfston area on Chimney Rock. ABC 13's Alex Bazarjian has more from HPD, which says this happened because of $20.
Just 24 hours after somebody was shot outside their business, this Honduran food truck is up and running. An employee who wanted to remain anonymous says what happened was a tragedy. She wasn't working at the time, but her mom was. She didn't see it, the woman says, because she was cooking, but she heard the gunshots and it scared her, so she dropped to the floor. According to Houston police, the victim was nearby the food truck when he encountered 3 suspects who were asking around for $20.
The deceased said, "I'll get your $20, went back over to the apartments behind me.
HPD says he returned not with the money, but with the pistol. He pointed it at the suspects, but did not shoot. The suspects, however, were armed, and police say they did shoot. It's just such an ugly thing to kill someone over nothing, the employee says. Surveillance video from the nearby gas station allegedly shows the 3 men police believe are responsible. A gas station employee says one of the suspects can be seen walking in and out of the frame twice, going towards the food truck, which is beyond the reach of the camera. He quickly returns with 2 more suspects. HPD says all 3 took off after the shooting, got in a car, and then headed west on Elm Street.
Que Dios los perdone porque
Alejandro Mendoza Garcia says the victim was his friend. He says he can never forgive them, but hopefully God can. Mendoza Garcia describes his friend as someone who was always helping others, a father and a hard worker.
me lo mataron.
They killed him, he says, and I can't do anything about it. In Southwest Houston, I'm Alex Bazarjian.
He left. The guy left, went to the apartment complex behind where the truck is. So he was in a different area, away from these 3 people, got a gun, came back, pulled a gun out on these 3 people, and then they also had a gun and shot him. Yeah, I don't know why the news is telling it like they randomly just shot him. In Texas, in most areas now, a lot of people carry guns. Do not pull out a weapon if you're not going to use it. And if you're going to use it, have a damn good reason, not over someone asking you for 20 bucks. Like, I can't blame them for defending themselves if somebody has a weapon. I'm not, I feel horrible that somebody died. I feel horrible that his family and friends are mourning him. I don't want anybody to die, but I mean, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't. And especially if you have the chance to get away from what is going on, just get away. Yeah, guns are not to show off. Don't do that. Look what I got. Well, they probably got one too, and if they're quicker to draw or fire than you, then you're the one that's going to be dead. Because today's theme is people are insane. People are insane. So, and people are insane everywhere. I have a couple stories from Australia. We're going down under. So there was so we talked about Germany earlier, that there was multiple people stabbed at a festival and some people died. Sydney also had a stabbing rampage. And Australia is also dealing with a crime crisis. So I'm going to let these two stories play back to back. And I need to use the restroom. So I'm going to let these play and I'm going to go potty.
A man has been charged with intent to murder over an alleged stabbing rampage at Engadine, which left his partner seriously injured. She is now recovering in hospital, along with a witness who tried to help her and a police officer.
Anthony Benson, captured yesterday morning in the midst of an alleged knife rampage.
Blow into the camera! For you bastards!
Today charged with intent to murder, resisting arrest and driving dangerously. His lawyer telling Sutherland Court he is preparing for surgery tomorrow for self-inflicted stab wounds. The 58-year-old is accused of stabbing his partner Maria Campello with a box cutter whilst driving through Engadine before crashing into another car on the Princes Highway. Bystanders rushing to help, allegedly confronted by Benson, including 67-year-old Paul Sargent from Karela, allegedly stabbed in the abdomen as he tried to protect Maria. Fellow hero, Cronulla Sharks chairman Steve Mace, went to visit Paul at St George Hospital today.
Just coming to see how that other fella that helped my son and I, helped the female victim out, just come to see how he's doing.
I'm also blown away by how bloody brave regular, ordinary members of the public are to complete strangers.
The 28-year-old police officer allegedly stabbed in the wrist during Benson's arrest is now recovering at home and today was commended from the top.
I was able to speak to Campbell this morning and thank him for his work on behalf of the people of the state.
He deserves all the accolades and I'm very proud of him for that.
According to witnesses, Ms Campello was yelling out for Benson during the arrest.
She was more worried about her partner.
The 48-year-old is in a stable condition also here at Kogarah, where she is recovering from multiple stab wounds. Her brother telling 9 News, despite the ordeal, she is doing okay. Benson's matter will return to court on Thursday. At Kogarah, Erin Ramsey, 9 News. And we spoke to his brother again only moments ago, who claims he went to police just last month with concerns for his sister's relationship, but nothing was done. He also says Maria is getting better and that he is very proud of all those who helped her.
Erin, thank you. And if this story affects you in any way, there is help available. Call 1-800-RESPECT. That's 1-800-737-732.
And then we have crime crisis in Australia.
Shocking new video has captured the terrifying crime crisis that's crippling two border towns. Locals sharing the video with 9 News, hoping both state premiers will take action.
This is a snapshot of the escalating youth crime crisis that has two towns on edge. These scenes filmed across the border from Gundawindi in the New South Wales town of Bogabilla. It's raw violence and it plays out in broad daylight in the early afternoon. This is the behaviour that has residents fearing for their safety.
Police are working with one hand tied behind their back.
The leader of the National Party, David Littleproud, has today called for the state government to reintroduce boot camps for youth criminals. He says they're extremely effective.
And if they wanted to make a run for it, they were told to take a bottle of water and just look out for king browns and wild dogs.
But the current Queensland government closed boot camps in 2015 due to cost blowouts.
They worked. We had high success rates. They are more expensive, but we also need the other states to fall in line with us.
When 9 News met the Gundawindi community this week, Mayor Lawrence Springborg raised concerns about police numbers. The Premier's office confirmed there are 18 full-time officers, but the opposition says that's a lie and raised it with Stephen Miles today, alleging whistleblowers say there are only 9.
What does the Premier say to Gundawindi locals for operating their police station at half capacity in the middle of a youth crime crisis?
Half the allotted strength. How have we reached this point in Queensland?
I was advised yesterday that the Police Commissioner had deployed additional policing resources to Gundawindi, including a team from Toowoomba.
The people of Gundawindi wanted the Premier to help them, and it seems that he has listened. Off the back of 9 News' special reports on the unfolding crisis, the Premier today announced he is expediting the appointment of a cross-border commissioner. Whoever is appointed will manage cross-border issues and help Queensland Police work more collaboratively with the New South Wales counterparts. The creation of the role is in response to the community advocacy about challenges faced by Queenslanders living in border communities. I have spoken to the locals, Melissa and Andrew, and they are elated, but they said it's only a small part of what needs to be done.
Thanks, Peter.
More than 10 businesses are counting the cost after a group of masked thieves armed with an axe and in stolen cars caused thousands of dollars worth of damage. Glass doors smashed and cash stolen across 3 Brisbane suburbs.
This is the start of a destructive early morning rampage. Wielding an axe, this person's first move is to lose the camera before attempting to bust through the doors of this Corinda tobacconist.
It's not a nice thing to see, obviously. It's really annoying. They can see that they can't get in. They're just causing inconveniences for us.
Here they left empty-handed, but the 3:40 a.m. smash and dash was one of at least a dozen across 3 suburbs. Next up, Graceville. Honor Avenue's busy restaurant, retail and cafe strip left a shocking mess.
It's devastating, people trying to make a living and, this happens. It's quite shocking in an otherwise quite lovely suburb.
The local convenience store, a new cafe up and running for just weeks, another 2 restaurants around the corner, the dry cleaner, this burger joint and an ice cream shop too. Just a handful of a long list of businesses targeted.
Forensic crews will comb every business affected, searching for clues, but already investigators say the same group is responsible.
Their crime spree ending in Sherwood, the group using the axe again to ransack a news agency and damage the doors of 2 bottle shops.
They made a mess. They obviously broke the door, smashed a few things inside the shop.
Tonight, those responsible remain on the run. Jacob Chico, 9 News.
Ridiculous. Yeah, and this is an issue worldwide, and we're all different. So we are connected through the internet. So what the hell is going on with society? And yeah, everybody's insane. Doesn't matter if you're in Australia or Germany. It seems like everybody's insane everywhere. Off topic, I was just watching the show earlier that I think is in New Zealand, and it's these people like dealing with residents and like evicting people and stuff. I thought it was very interesting. So, in some sad news, Mariah Carey and her sister her mother and her sister died on the same day.
Some sad news for Mariah Carey, and George Pinocchio joins us now to fill us in.
It's just heartbreaking news to report. Singer Mariah Carey is sharing some devastating news. She lost her mother and her sister on the same day last weekend. Her reps confirmed the news to us, providing us with a statement from Carey saying, "My heart is broken." In her 2020 memoir, Carey acknowledged the relationship with her mom had its ups and downs, calling it a complicated love. Today, she wrote, "I feel blessed that I was able to spend the last week with my mom before she passed." Carey had an estranged relationship with her sister Allison. The causes of their deaths have not been released.
I have no idea what happened to them. I feel horrible for Mariah Carey. That's really, really sad. So this video we were talking about a little earlier, but I hadn't played it yet. So somebody was stealing trees in Houston. Trees.
And new at 6 o'clock, a bizarre crime you have to see to believe.
You do. Take a look at this. A thief is caught on camera ripping out trees out of the ground from homes on Houston's near north side. Katira Winfrey is live near Quitman in Maine, where neighbors sharing this unusual story. Katira?
Well, Lynn and Mia, the people I spoke to say this story is a little bit shady. And when they tell people what happened, they have to reiterate someone literally ripped the tree out of the ground. Take a look right here. You can see a hole from where one tree was pulled out. Now, if we whip the camera around over here, you can actually see fresh dirt where this tree was replanted.
Just stop stealing trees.
It's a simple request, and one Kelly Kindred and Olivia Tapete hopes this tree bandit follows.
You're mad because it's your stuff, but then there's the part of you that's like, oh my gosh, this is completely absurd. But that was stolen Monday.
The pair haven't lived here long, but the neighbors have quickly developed a friendship, keeping watch for each other. And here's what they saw this week.
And my husband texted me, was like, somebody just stole our tree.
It left them in shock. Surveillance videos shared with KHOU 11 shows the man bending and shaking the tree, trying to rip it out of the ground. Another video shows the same man using a pickaxe to try to dig up another.
Who does that? Why? Like, is there a little gardener gang running around? Like, is there a black market that I don't know about?
The unusual crime spree happened over several days. A neighbor around the corner is missing a tree along with others around the area. The neighbors group chat alerted Tapete about the theft in progress, and after a string of problems in the neighborhood, she'd had enough.
And I ran outside, and our other next door neighbor was like, he went that way, so I took off after him.
She admits it wasn't the best idea, but she did catch up with him a few blocks away.
He had put the tree in a grocery cart, and then he hid behind another tree.
She says he ran off, leaving the tree behind so that it could get back where it belongs.
But she got my tree back.
And I did speak to one neighbor who said he decided to not file a police report. Instead, they just wanted to get the word out about what happened, but also shine a light on the importance of neighbors looking out for neighbors. Reporting live in Houston, Katira Winfrey, KHOU.
No, file a police report. But why wouldn't you file a police report? File a police report. Cops aren't going to do anything but just file one. And also, don't do that. Don't confront the crazy guy stealing trees. Maybe, like, yell at him through a window. I wouldn't run after him. That's crazy. Don't... They didn't file... Just warn each other. Don't file a police report. No, file a police report! Who else is he stealing from? That's not okay. Like, what the hell? That's insane. Oh, did you guys see that the CEO of Telegram was arrested?
French authorities have arrested the CEO of a popular messaging app, but they say the arrest was not political.
Pavel Durov heads the company Telegram. Telegram says it has more than 1 billion users around the world. It's a popular resource for journalists, activists, and dissidents. French officials arrested Durov for failing to enforce content moderation. They claim that the app has been used in the spread of images of child sexual abuse, drug trafficking, fraud, and abetting gang activity. Durov is from Russia. That country decried France's arrest, but France says his nationality was not a motivating factor.
Huh. I mean, if that's the case, wouldn't like WhatsApp and all that be prosecuted too? Doesn't Facebook own WhatsApp? So I guess Zuckerberg should stay away from France. He looks like a wind-up doll. Like, what about all the other messaging apps? Like, I agree that they're a problem, but all right, let me see. Oh, so technology can be a good thing. They had drones for the street takeovers, and now they're using drones to try to find missing people during searches, which makes sense. They could probably see things that people can't.
A missing woman in Sumner County has been found thanks to the help of a drone. Emergency management says they found her stuck in an overgrown field. Our Sharon Dankwa has the details on the search.
Time is of essence in especially a situation like this.
Ken Widener with Sumner County Emergency Management said a 93-year-old woman with Alzheimer's was missing.
We responded to location with the Sumner County Sheriff's Office, Sumner County EMS, and the volunteer fire in that community.
It's when Mickey Summers says he pulled out his drone.
I launched the drone. Less than 1 minute, I had located her with the thermal imaging, the FLIR that's on the camera itself. Before I said, hey, I've got her, I actually flew to her location and turned the live camera on to make sure that it was what I was looking at to confirm before I put it out over the radio.
You're watching Summers' drone footage of the woman with her walker stuck in the middle of an overgrown field.
It feels very good, especially when you can do it that quick. I was actually surprised because I literally just launched the drone.
He used his drone to lead the search party to her exact location.
Well, I was actually the first one to get to her, and she was trying to go forward. And I said, Miss Betty, I said, you okay? She said, yes, sir, yes, sir. And I said, where are you going? And she said, I'm going out there. And I said, all right, well, can we go back to your house? She said, yeah, we can go back home. And man, she was in good spirits and talking to us, and we got her in a truck and got her back to the house. The EMS checked her, and she was fine.
Sumner County EMA says this is the 12th person they found using their drone since the start of their program. For WSMV4, I'm Sharon Dankwa.
Sumner County is Tennessee. This is in Tennessee. So I am very glad that they were able to find her. Where you going, Miss Betty? I'm going over there. Somewhere in the forest. She had a plan. Not sure what the plan was, but she was determined. Let's see. Is there anything that I missed before I go to the last two videos? Nope. So only two more videos. We're going back to Utah. I don't know how the hell Utah ended up in here so much, but back to Utah.
On this busy Sunday night, we begin tonight with a KSL exclusive. Workers at a seafood restaurant in Layton credited with saving the life of an expected mother.
That mom-to-be is a lobster from the East Coast who is protected under federal law. Tonight, she's back in the Atlantic Ocean after a chaotic journey back and forth across the country.
News specialist Shelby Lofton now joins us live tonight with this bizarre story that's being celebrated as a big win for conservation, right, Shelby?
Dan, that's right. It is a bit bizarre. A few days ago, employees at this Red Lobster here in Layton noticed that one of their lobsters in their tank was hanging upside down, and they actually discovered that she was carrying eggs, and that's not something that they're trained on how to handle, but they did. They handled it, and it ended up being a huge win for sustainability in our ocean.
They like to splash.
At Red Lobster in Layton, dinner comes with a show.
Females are softer. They've got a little more fuzz on it, so the tail.
On Tuesday, Supervisor Dean Adams noticed one crustacean looked odd.
They curl their tail in, and then the lobster goes up. We went to open the tail to see what was going on, and the eggs fell out.
A female was mistakenly sent to the restaurant. She came all the way from the cold waters of Maine.
I haven't ever been a part of this or seen anything like it.
General Manager Nikki Smith faintly remembered the policy for an unusual situation like this, but made some phone calls while staff separated the female lobster from the rest.
We got some wet cardboard, some ice packs, packed her up, put some wet paper towels on top of her to keep her cool.
By Friday,
whirlwind trip from her, Maine to Utah to Maine in 4 days.
Smith received this clip from Red Lobster supplier Ready Seafood.
10,000 eggs that are now going back into the ocean thanks to your effort.
The lobster got a V-notch to mark she's a breeder.
Protected for life.
Thousands of her eggs went back into the water with her.
I'm sure not all 10,000 lobsters make it, but even if just a few do, it's a great way to take part in being sustainable.
This lobster can continue the reproduction cycle.
I'm very proud of my team for, having the instinct to say, hey, let's do something about this.
Instead of ignoring it, they took action.
I think she must have known that they would take care of her, so they really were good about making sure she was taken care of, checking in on her. It was like she'd become just a part of the family.
A lesson in conservation over the dining table.
And it was awesome to see her get back to Maine.
Back down to the bottom of the ocean.
And now that lobster has that V-notch in her tail, she is illegal to keep even when she does release her eggs. That lobsterman you saw in that video says later on that she is released in a safe spot in deep waters out in Maine, hopefully keeping our lobster supply up. And
That's hilarious. All right, I got one last video for y'all, and then I'm gonna release y'all back in the wild too.
Just one station with some shocking video you really have to see. It shows the prime suspect in a house fire, the family's dog. Now at 3, Colton Molesky has the video proof.
It's hard to believe, but this little French bulldog is the culprit behind all this damage. Take a look at how the DeLuzio family knew their four-legged friend started the fire. This security video shows exactly who caught their Brook Park home on fire.
And in the video, you can see him stretch over and touch the stove, and then you hear the burner click on, and then within seconds, the burner comes on.
Some leftovers covered on the stove, one curious pup going for a snack, and a dose of bad luck as Harvey's paw ignites the burner.
If we didn't have it on camera, it's kind of a far-fetched tale. You wouldn't really believe it.
Chris DeLuzio says he was at work when he got the phone call he'll never forget. The fire department telling him his home was on fire.
It was definitely panic and fear at the same time because, like I said, I knew that they said that they only located one dog. My thought process at first was my son, my niece, and my mother-in-law are here. So I'm trying to get a hold of them.
Fortunately, DeLuzio found out later no one was home. But this is what's left of the kitchen.
That's him just being fat and hungry.
Thankfully, DeLuzio says the damage inadvertently caused by Harvey is all covered. But it looks like he and his wife and their 6 children will need somewhere else to stay for 6 to 8 months. And of course, not everything can be replaced.
I mean, we lost a lot of irreplaceable stuff, you know what I mean? It doesn't have a value.
Fortunately, no one was injured, including any animals, which is impressive because this little guy was in here for 20 minutes before firefighters got him out. Colt Molesky.
Look, I know that gas stoves cook better and all that stuff, but that is a fear of mine, that it randomly turns on. My dog can't reach that high, so I don't have to worry about that. Well, yeah, I'm glad that that worked out and everybody's okay. So on my, for my system that I have at home, if the smoke detector goes off, my Alexa alerts me and lets me know because I'm paranoid. And I don't want anything to happen to my dog. But that is everything I have for today. I appreciate y'all hanging out with me today. I love you all, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. And I will plan on being back on Thursday morning, and you can come join me with your hair barely combed and your pajamas too. Love you all. Bye.